All right, let's get it rolling on a Tuesday. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to your new midday hang. It is Annie and Elsten here with you live on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Annie Heilbrunn is here. My name's Craig Elsten. Braden Suprenant on hand as well. Good morning.
Good morning, Craig. How are you today?
I'm here.
All right. Crazy morning or what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a match day for soccer. I had like 4 shows yesterday, was on the air till 10 at night, walked the dog and started working on
Yeah.
my prep sheet. So I was like literally thinking about what we would talk about today at 10:30. And here it is 10:01. Let's do it.
Let's do it. We'll figure it out. Figure it out along the way.
Yeah, I mean, we got plenty of stuff to talk about today. Thankfully, Padres spring training is underway.
Exactly.
And with that comes the fountain of content, optimistic content, exciting content, thoughtful content. Sam Levitt is our man on the scene. We don't need his voice on our show. We bring you his products on Annie and Elsten. You hear him every morning before he goes to work with Ben and Woods, kind of giving you his thoughts, reflections, and whatnot. But then during these hours, it's time for Sammy to dig in. And for example, right now, the GM of the San Diego Padres, AJ Preller, is talking to a scrum. And Sam Levitt is there with his phone, recording, probably recording Kevin Acee standing right to the side, not looking at anybody. During I just had so much fun with that yesterday. So as we set up the show, right? 11 a.m. That's our Padres deep dive. That's where we like to put that every day. We're going to go ahead and break down whatever Preller has to say at 11. We'll all get to hear it together for the first time. I'm sure we will be absolutely thrilled and not nonplussed in any way by his equivocations and managing to his verbal dodges of the questions. Nonetheless, we'll have it for you. And whatever he has to say, we'll find out. Jackson Merrill just spoke to the press and appeared to sound pretty convincing and aggressive in terms of, I think I'm going to win a starting job on this year's team. Which is quite interesting because, of course, if he did that, it's going to have to be in the outfield. And he said, among other things, that he has been working at 4 positions this winter, up the middle, infield, and center field, left field. So left field, we presume, is Jurickson Profar to start, at least, maybe. But does that mean Jackson Merrill could be our starting center fielder?
I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's cool. I saw a few clips from him and has a really nice presence about him for what it's worth. Seems confident, answered questions well. How that translates to him making a position change and entering the big leagues, we will find out. It doesn't, but it was good to hear from him. And he definitely addressed all of the questions coming at him about having to change positions, maybe not working at shortstop, but also working at other positions, like you said. And then trying to learn from other guys. He also mentioned that last year at the spring training at camp, was kind of just a learning year for him. You know, you sit back, you look around, you're happy to be there. You kind of soak in what you can. This year, he's coming in with a point to prove. And he's coming in to earn a job. And he wants to show them what he can do because he can taste it. It's like right there for him entering the big leagues. And so, going to be very interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, something to track as spring training begins. Fernando Tatis Jr. is in camp.
Yes, early.
Showed up, 3 days early. Friday's the official report date. I think that report date is starting to be kind of like the report time for a bus. You know what I mean? Like when you are on a pro team, if the bus leaves at 8, that means the wheels roll at 8. So if you're not on that bus at 7:45, you're kind of late. That's what the Friday report date is now. Like, you're really going to report on Friday for the Friday report date, not Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. Like, let's, as Woodsy said this morning, let's have all the eyewash we need. Let's get everybody in early in the best shape of their lives with new LASIK surgery or whatever we need to get them excited for the year.
Yeah, exactly. They used to come in, they used to kind of trickle in over a few days leading up to that final full team report day, but they wouldn't all be there as early as they are. So this is a little fun, a little unique, and they all probably understand they're going to Korea. They're starting things early. The Dodgers are already in camp. They beat them to it over there on the other side. So yeah, they're getting in there. They're working together, coming off of a season where they would say, and I think we would all say as well, was an underwhelming and underperformed season. You want to see this. It's eyewash a little bit, but you still want to see it. They're in there. They're working. They're enthusiastic. And now you're just probably waiting on a few more position players because you've got Manny there, Jake Cronenworth, Hassan Kim, Tatis now. They're rolling in.
They are. The leaders of this club are almost entirely here at this point. And honestly, given how limited the roster is, it's pretty much everybody. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, who's left? Xander?
I don't think Xander's reported yet. Jerkson is probably going to have to, it sounds like, get his physical, but then Jerkson's had trouble with the visas in the past. And that is because there's like one dude in all of Curacao that handles visas. And so, yeah, I'm sure they're on top of that, but I'm guessing he'll be a few days out at least. If he is, that's indeed where he is. But then other than that, yeah, I think Wandy Peralta hasn't come yet. No, you're not waiting on all too many.
No, it's mostly the team there. You need this. This club is getting started earlier than everybody. First spring training game is now 9 days away. 9 days away.
Wild.
So let's all report, please.
Yeah.
Let's get in line because there's games like moments from now. And of course, the thing I always come back to is it's not the first game, it's the last game. The last game, and the team leaves March 13th. So you've got, today is February 13th. So you've got a month for this to be essentially fully cooked, or at least to the level that it's going to be going to Korea. One thing I saw on Kevin Acey's reporting a couple of days ago is that the team will be allowed to take 31 players to Korea. So they will take 5 spares along the way that can play in the Korea exhibition games. But of course, they won't be able to play in the 2 major league games, right? They'll have to set a 26 for game 1 and 2 in Korea. So at least they'll have a little bit of that flexibility going forward. But it's just crazy that there's so many young guys, open positions, and I'm not saying time's up, but like
it's ticking.
It's close.
Yeah, it's you feel like there's going to be something that's happening over the next 2 weeks before they go to Korea. Of course, none of us know that. And I don't think AJ Preller is going to answer today if someone asks him, hey, what are you going to be doing, AJ? How are you going to fill out this roster? But we'll see if we can glean anything from what he says. A lot of yeah, no's, no yes.
Yeah. And no.
Yeah. No, yeah. And also with AJ, you got to be careful. He's very cagey in his answers. We've talked about it before, where he doesn't want to give anything away. So he's probably not going to let us know his plans in detail. But we might be able to pull out a few things that we'll just presume upon. There'll be little hints that maybe we can build upon. We'll see what he says. But overall, I mean, looks like, as it does at this time of year, everyone looks great. People look like they're ready to go. Lots of enthusiasm, lots of positive vibes out there. The vibes are excellent out in spring training. Hopefully fans are getting ready to go out there too soon when the games are starting and hanging around there, because that's always fun. It's a fun place to be. But it's fun to start seeing some of that footage coming through too. You start seeing guys taking grounders yesterday, PFPs, things like that. So spring training has definitely sprung.
Maybe in our next segment, I just sent a link to Braden from Joe Musgrove's comments back. I think it was actually on Sunday when the teams first arrived. But it's something that I was really thinking about last night as well, because he talked about creating a different mentality for the club in terms of vocalizing expectations within the clubhouse, having everybody recognize kind of where the standards are and what is expected of this team in 2024. And what's wild about that to me is the implication within that in 2023, the most important consequential year in Padres history. And I remember saying that not as an employee on this station around this time last year. Like, this is the most important consequential year in the history of the San Diego Padres. And apparently they never had that talk in spring last year, or at least as a unified group. Maybe they, you and me get in the corner and say, hey, this is really important, and 3 other guys over in a clique over here. But according to, how Joe was talking, I wonder if that even happened last year. It's kind of weird.
I would have to talk to Joe more about it. Sometimes when there are answers about this, and it's interesting because Darvish did the same thing yesterday and then had to retract and say, I'm not saying that it wasn't happening last year, but I would want to talk to Joe more about this. I think that I know that Bob Melvin was a believer in letting the clubhouse sort of run itself a bit. I can't imagine that they didn't have any kind of talks at all, about where their expectations are, where they wanted to go. But I think that there was more of a policing sense of players. And so it will be interesting to see how Mike Schilt does it, whether he, is kind of leaning on certain players or he's really I think Mike Schilt is very big on communication. So I think that this is going to be Mike Schilt laying out a lot of things.
I hope so. That's one of the things that I'm trying to be encouraged about for this season, is that there's gonna be a different mentality, that the guys are going to look at the season with the intensity they should have last year, when a lot of guys were on the first year of multi-year deals.
I hope so. Last year, there was a lot of talk too at this time of year about contracts. Hey, am I going to get mine? Is he going to get his? He just got his. So-and-so just signed this. And you're not having that this year. And I do think that kind of played a weird part. It started from the beginning last year, where people were more seemingly, or not more, but they were paying attention to the money that was kind of being thrown around, and whether they were going to get their money or so-and-so was going to get his money or this and that. And so I do think that they've got a camp now that is quieter. They're working behind the scenes. They are seemingly the underdog again. I think, we've heard people say this is where they're comfortable. You don't really want to be comfortable there, but look, this is your place. Like, go out and perform. Hey, do it. If this is what's going to make you rise to kind of that intensity and that challenge, is people counting you out, go for it. Like, we all know those people, and maybe we are those people that you have a chip on your shoulder. You're able to kind of focus a little bit better on what you need to do. So I do think that there's going to be more communication, more talks, more. The word that I want to go to is, checks and balances, like more checks and balances. Is this happening? Are those guys doing this? And again, you're going to want to strike that fine balance between players feeling like they've got some authority, but also, and I think this is also what Joe said, a leader at the top setting the guidelines for everyone.
Yeah. We maybe had no leader by having too many leaders last season. And of course, none of these things are baseball things. These are all inside the clubhouse things. These are chemistry issues and whatnot. Of course, there's all the stuff that's going to happen between the white lines this year as well. Projections are starting to come out. They're rolling in. More people are putting out their, yearly projection podcast. I was just listening to Rates and Barrels with Eno Saris and the Athletic guys earlier this morning, and on the way in between commercial breaks have been in.
Of course.
I mean, never would I stray from 97.3 The Fan at any point. But the guys this morning also were playing Brian Kenny's rundown.
I heard that
on MLB Network. Look, this is where we are right now as a franchise. And we spent a month going, well, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Who are we going to sign? Are we going to make a trade? What's going to happen? And in all of that time, Wandy Peralta and now Jurickson Profar for $1 million. That's it for the moves the Padres have made. So no one should be surprised all spring long when every national talking head you see picks the Padres to not have a very good year.
And believe me, when it's June or July, and if the Padres are doing well, they're all going to pretend like they were riding this Padres bus the entire time.
Sure. And did a bunch of people, this is the thing. Of course, a lot of people looked at all the moves they made last year. The projections showed this to be on a 50 percentile type luck season, an 89 or 90 win team last year. So everyone went with that because the computers said it and the money was spent and it looked exciting. And so you had all of that analysis. It's very fair to look at this team right now and say they're going to win in the 70s with the roster they have today, projecting 162 games. It's why we keep talking about, is there a move out there that helps bring this club around. And I guess all I wanted to say to wrap this segment up is that personally, and I'm not speaking for Annie, I'm not speaking for Braden. Personally, my attitude about 2024, this sounds simplistic, is that the Padres should try to win. That this should not be, I know that sounds ridiculous, but right now, is that what's happening? When we are doing nothing but balling on a budget, trimming, talking about putting raw kids into the starting lineup, talking about promoting kids from essentially high A up to the major leagues. Don't give me 3 weeks in AA as being enough seasoning, or the Arizona Fall League for that matter. And I look at a great farm system that's producing hype and a team that's incomplete on top and say, give me a move. I want to win in 2024. Yes, I want the team to be competitive all decade, but this year matters for this franchise. It matters for AJ Preller's future. It matters for Mike Schilt's future. He's on a 2-year contract. In baseball, we know what that means. It means you get a year. And if the first year is no good, you only have 1 year to kick. It's a very simple plan. I don't have very much interest in the Padres being their most flexible or their most agile. Oh, look at the great non-moves we made all year, avoiding pitfalls and calamity. I want us to spend up to $1 million short of the cap line. I want us to put in resources, and that includes making a deal that helps bring another real player to this team. I'm not ready to punt 2024 on February 13th.
No, I don't think anybody should be. I was looking at some of the videos that were put out yesterday and what Sammy was doing on 97.3 The Fans Twitter and things like that. And it's still a good team. This is still a team with talent. This is still a team that can go out there and dominate in pitching and hitting. It's a little, like you said, maybe more than a little, incomplete. It's a little inconsistent. You're definitely betting on some guys that you've never seen before, your Goes, your Matsuis. You're betting on things to work out in some places. You don't have a ton of depth to play with, and that is kind of a concern when you look at this. If things don't work out, who are you pulling from? Are those guys going to be ready to come up and contribute? I don't think you should be punting on this year, but I do think, like you said, Craig, yeah, you want the Padres to go out there and spend and show that they at least are trying to make some kind of move. I believe they are. I think that there's probably things going on in the background. Time is ticking, though, and you do want to start putting this team together. Even Joe saying that about identity and forming this kind of cohesion, like you need the team there to do it. You want to be able to work together to do that. And I just do think also, like, there's just a lot that is going to unfold probably in that first month or two. But when the team is hit with adversity that you're going to see what this team is. And we saw that last year, right? I mean, I marveled. Braden and Craig heard me a lot yesterday. I had forgotten that the team had only one walk-off last year. And it blew my mind all over again. I'm like, really? And so you're going to need to be able to form at least enough of an identity to where when you run across the stumbling blocks, when you run across the challenges, you are able to fight back. You are able to overcome some of those close games. You are able to overcome some of these injuries. And right now, they've got to be building that. And that's hard to build. Like, you really have to kind of go through stuff to build that, but you got to find a way.
All right, let's take our first break here on Annie and Elsten. Again, at 11 a.m., we'll bring you some of the sounds that AJ Preller is emanating from his mouth right now. We will bring you some of that. But when we come back, let's hear what Joe Musgrove had to say earlier at the start of the Peoria spring training camp when pitchers and catchers reported on Sunday. We'll play that clip for you. Plus, huge news in baseball out of the Bay Area. And also, the Giants signed Jorge Soler. We will talk about both of those stories when we come back. It's Annie and Elsten just underway and roll until 2 o'clock on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Listen to 97.3 The Fan.
First thing I turn up when I get into my car.
And thousands of other stations, plus millions of podcasts for free on the Odyssey app.
I'm Delta Messenger, helping you beat the books with BetQL. The Pistons have just 8 wins this season, 4 at home and 4 on the road, but have won 2 of their last 3 on the road. The Lakers have been pretty good at home, going 18-9, and just picked up some help at the trade deadline as well to make a playoff push. It's a big number, but BetQL model likes the home team tonight. The 5-star best bet is the Lakers laying the points over the Pistons. Bet smarter and beat the books with BetQL, and download the BetMGM app today.
For the ones who work hard to ensure their crew can always go the extra mile, and the ones who get in early so everyone can go home on time, there's Grainger, offering professional-grade supplies backed by product experts so you can quickly and easily find what you need. Plus, you can count on access to a committed team ready to go the extra mile for you. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
10:25 on the fan. Welcome back. It's Annie and Elsten here with you. Your new midday hang. Annie Heilbrunn, Craig Elsten, Braden Suprenant. We are live on YouTube, where we are a video show, 4 hours live with you. Thanks to everybody who is joining us in the YouTube chat. If you are live and on YouTube right now, go ahead, smash that like button. Get in there for us. Dig in. 3, 2, 1, smash. Hit the like button for us. Appreciate you. Thanks to everybody listening, obviously, on terrestrial radio, 97.3 FM, everyone listening on the Odyssey app, and to all y'all in the future listening to us as a podcast later tonight. We appreciate you whenever, wherever you find your way to Annie and Elsten programming. Mutual friend, great news today. Earlier this morning, Annie, it was announced that Jenny Cavnar is the new television play-by-play broadcaster for the Oakland Athletics in their last year in the Bay Area. We've known Jenny for, back to the 2000s, right? When she was a young reporter at Channel 4 San Diego. I remember when I was working across the street, having her on my radio show back in like 2008 and loving to talk baseball with her. She's grown so much in Colorado, had opportunities to get into the booth and was kind of their primary fill-in play-by-play announcer the last few years. So she'd get 10 or 20 games on the Rockies broadcasts. And, obviously from a competitive standpoint, going from Colorado to Oakland feels like a pretty lateral move. But from a standpoint of getting the number one job in a Major League Baseball booth, I just couldn't be happier or more excited for Jenny Cavnar this morning.
Yeah, this is absolutely awesome. So she is essentially the Don Orsillo for the A's. She will be the primary TV play-by-play broadcaster. And this is historic. I mean, she's making history as the primary. She already made history when she first started doing color commentary for the Rockies, that she was the first woman to do that. Then she made history again when she started to step in to do these Rockies games on TV as the play-by-play. And now she has a full-time gig doing it. Amazing person. So enthusiastic and supportive of other females in the field as well, but has earned every second of this. I mean, it's 12 years with the Rockies, I think she's spent. And then before that, if anybody maybe wasn't in San Diego during that time, like Craig said, she was with Channel 4 San Diego. And then when Channel 4 became Fox Sports San Diego, she ended up going back to her hometown with the Rockies and covering for them and anchoring pre-post and then doing broadcasts. But, so often you see women relegated to that sideline role. And you have to know your stuff. You know this, Craig. You have to know your stuff to be a play-by-play announcer. That is not an easy job at all. And I'm so thrilled for her. It's going to be so fun to watch her and support her along the way.
Yeah, I'm just over the moon.
Yeah.
And also that, Jenny's a trailblazer now.
She is.
And that's such an incredible thing. Like, you'll never take that away, right? Like, no matter what, she's the first woman to be a full-time number one play-by-play announcer in Major League Baseball. That's on the Wikipedia page at the top forever.
Yeah, and she has a daughter. How awesome to show that to her daughter. She's got a son too, but like, how cool is that? Like, you're the first one. Exactly. That'll be a trivia question one day.
Indeed. We knew her when.
Yes, we did know her when. And so now she will, sounds like we were talking in the break, she'll be in Oakland for a year and then she'll move with the team wherever they go. But this is a job you absolutely take wherever the A's are at and their whole deal with Oakland and Vegas and all that stuff. This is an opportunity you got to take.
I don't remember if it was a day that you were here or not, but there was some time last month where Braden and I just spent a little while just putt-putting the idea of like, why not let the A's play their games at Petco Park the next couple of years?
How?
Well,
I said that. You could do it when their Padres are away. The A's are home. You get a home game every day.
Home game every day.
I bet you that the powers that be at Petco, who are probably trying to find ways to make more money, they would like that.
I mean, why relegate them to some lame AAA stadium somewhere, or even a beautiful AAA stadium somewhere in Salt Lake City or whatever? Nobody wants the A's. Oakland wants the A's. No one else wants the A's. And the A's, Oakland fans would prefer an A's team that didn't have John Fisher on top.
Yes.
that would be their ideal, to have a non-Fisher Oakland athletics team. And I would love that to be the case. But if you're going to be the traveling Wilburys for 2 years and you're going to be bouncing from hither to yon, like, what about the extra revenue the Padres could make just by charging the A's rent?
And not just the Padres. Think about the housing that would be necessary for that. They'll be eating the food in the gas lamp or wherever they are. This could bring some revenue to the city. I don't hate this. You only also need to sell. Wolfpack 1977 in the chat says, well, I think he was mentioning another ballpark, but you're not going to sell out Petco Park with them every time. So you just kind of keep a section of the seating bowl open.
Yeah.
And the rest of it, you can do with it what you want. You
Right.
know?
Yeah. You wouldn't have to fully staff the park.
Exactly.
You wouldn't have to staff every single section or maybe even the upper deck.
Right.
But hey,
They hosted the ALCS during COVID
That's right.
and the American League playoffs. Why not?
I find it to be a unique revenue opportunity. And again, this would be for me Stan Kroenke style with the Rams. Like, we're just charging you rent.
Yeah, but you'll pay
bros.
more than $1.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be a little more than $1, but just pay the rent.
Mhm.
Come on down to beautiful Petco Park and try and sell some tickets. Good luck to you via Condias. See how many you sell.
What if the A's end up being like the team that ends up surprising everyone?
Right.
They're the Diamondbacks of the next year. Oh man, can you imagine? Can you imagine Padres fans trying? Actually, you could be both. You could be a Padres fan when they're in town,
Yep.
the A's when they're in town. So
Hey, I am telling you right now, if the A's were just here playing in 2025, like there's Padres homestands and A's homestands and Padres homestands and A's homestands, and it just went back and forth all year long, I would 100% take in some A's games.
better also for the media, like the San Diego media, a little more job security. You can cover both teams.
Sure.
I mean, I'm down with this.
San Diego A's.
I appreciate you and Braden because just as you were trying to help AJ Preller with his trade scenarios,
Yes.
helping the front office,
Helping group now.
Look.
Trying to help out the group dog.
we've got ideas.
I think it's a
They
great
might not
idea.
be good, but I'm down for this one.
It's
I
a
like
great
it.
idea. I think we should pull all the local establishments in the gas lamp, see what they think.
Oh, they would love it.
I'm sure they would love it.
Yep.
More better, right? More
Yes.
better.
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 We mentioned there was also other Bay Area news. The Giants signed Jorge Soler, 3 years, $42 million contract. You look at a deal like that for a guy who's had a 48 homer season, 36, I think, last year, 35 or 36 homers. I don't have a stat page up in front of me right now, but somebody who's put some real solid years together in his career. Now, he's a defensive truck.
Right.
He literally won't be able to play the outfield for the Giants. So they've signed him to be a DH. Any day he's in left field is a happy day for us.
48 home runs in 2019, 36 home runs in 2023, MVP. What's your take on this, though, overall for the Giants in terms of them trying to round out their roster a little bit more?
Well, it makes them better.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I don't think Soler and AT&T Park is a fit.
So
Is that-
DH.
Yeah.
Well, you mean even
It's a hard place to
right.
hit.
It's a hard place to
It's,
hit.
it's a hard place for a right-handed batter to create power.
Yes.
And just for example, Buster Posey went his entire career without hitting 30 home runs. So the last Giant to hit 30 homers in a season was Bonds.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, he had a little help along the way. So I don't necessarily believe that Jorge Soler will hit 30 homers this year for the Giants. I think some of his fly balls will die in the gap. However, just to say that Florida, Miami's park isn't an incredible home run hitting haven either. So, he's got light tower power. He's got the ability to put it out. He adds a danger dimension to the Giants lineup that they didn't have previously.
Threat.
If they, it locks up their DH slot, whatever, that's fine. They'll throw Conforto out there and Yastrzemski out there again in the outfield, I'm sure. But hey, every incremental improvement by our common opponents is bad news for the Padres. We're fighting the Giants. I mean, right now we're fighting them for third place. So, you're going to have to leapfrog that team to attack Arizona this year. And the Giants just got better. No question.
Yeah, that's what I thought when I saw the news as well. It was like, okay, well, they just improved their roster. They just locked a guy down and I think 3-year contract, right? So you just look around the division and that's kind of speaks to your point earlier, Craig. You're like, hey, Where's our moves? What are we doing? Who is the Padres DH, by the way?
We don't have one.
Okay. All right.
Like, we literally don't have. We're putting Matt Batten or Terso Ornelas at DH right now, or Cal Mitchell or Oscar Mercado.
To compete at Marcano.
Yeah. Now, it's very like AJ Preller to hold a press conference, say nothing, and then like an hour later make a trade or sign. Yeah. And then not say anything to the media about it. So I could see that happening. So maybe today, the next 48 hours, now that he's having this press conference, getting it out of the way, means a trade is imminent or a signing is imminent.
Well, I'd love to see it. Let's take a break. Let's come back and hear what Joe Musgrove had to say about setting a tone early, because I think roster construction has something to do with this. I think having your team together is part of creating togetherness.
Yes.
Again,
it helps.
I know I'm saying incredibly simple things today, like I want the team to try and win, and together better than apart. But it's true. And I don't know if that's sunk in with AJ Preller at any point in his career, which is a decade long now. So something to consider when we come back right here on San Diego's home for Padres baseball. This is Annie and Elsten on 97.3 The Fan. I dig this song. 1042. Welcome back. Annie and Elsten here with you. Grinding through hour number 1 of the show. We are here till 2 o'clock. Gwen and Chris will take you from 2 to 6 p.m., take you through the afternoon, and then it's the Scraby Show to wrap things up from 6 to 7. Back with Ben and Woods tomorrow morning. 6 to 10, the cycle of life continues here on 97.3 The Fan. So we've been talking some Padres baseball here, and our understanding is that A.J. Preller is talking to the media now. We have not seen any clips yet from anyone, never mind Sammy Spring Training.
Mm-hmm.
So our current plan was to turn that sound around at 11 a.m. Let's kind of adjust that to, we will turn that sound around when we get it.
Yes, and I haven't seen any news tweeted in earnest. I haven't seen any.
Shocker.
Right. So we'll, if any of that comes in, we'll update you on that. But my guess right now is it's pretty broad answers.
From AJ Preller?
No, shocked.
Sure about that?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, no.
overly broad.
He's not going to give us a detailed explanation on anything?
I don't think he's going to let us know his plan in its entirety. Maybe if he's in a very generous mood. I don't know.
Well, I usually have to listen twice.
Yeah.
I mean, like, for real, if I really want to try and dig into it, you have to listen twice, because it's usually the news is made in the negative spaces. Like it's what he didn't say.
Okay.
That you might take a look at, which I'm sure AJ probably finds ridiculous. That like we,
parse it out.
Exactly. That we're digging
Right.
through his tea leaves. He probably doesn't think about it nearly as hard as we do.
I think he punks us a little. I think he likes to throw some things in there that send us down a different path.
Sure.
I agree with that.
Well, that's been my standing platform all winter, is that the Jacob Marcy hype was to try and trade him. That, it's one of the things AJ does so well. And by the way, I'll just say it again. I feel like it's part of stuff we've talked about all the time. But when you look at minor league players, what's the phrase? Surplus value, right? Surplus value. The amount of money that they are considered to be worth relative to what they are paid. Players are never more valuable than when they are succeeding in the minor leagues without yet having appeared in the major leagues. As soon as you get to the big leagues, you now have a track record. You've got film, you've got stats, you've got next gen level stat cast, everything, right? You've got it all. And when you pop up there and go hit 216 with a 270 on base percentage and an exit velocity of 89, you're not a prospect anymore.
Right. When you get to the big leagues and you look like you have the yips maybe, or you look like you're not mentally able to sustain it, or you just weren't ready, or maybe you just don't have the magic that everyone thought you had in the minors, and now you're getting exposed. Maybe it doesn't play at the big league level. And that's partly why we beat the drum so much for trying to make sure a guy is ready when he comes to the majors, because that little window of confidence
Right.
or blown confidence can really hurt a player. It can take a while for some players to work their way back up from that. If they are sent, between the majors and the minors a little too much, or they just kind of don't understand what they're doing wrong, or they can't get a grasp on it. So yeah, when you're in the minors and anything is possible and you're still a prospect and you're in the top 10 or top 100 and things look good, your scouting reports look good, that's kind of when you make those trades.
Well, just to like keep in mind, in 2021, prior to that season, we made a whole bunch of trades, right? We traded a bunch of kids for Yu Darvish. We traded a bunch of kids for Blake Snell. And we traded a bunch of kids for Joe Musgrove.
Mm-hmm.
And out of all three of those trades, I believe David Bednar, who wound up closing and making an all-star game for Pittsburgh, a losing team, that's it for big league impact so far. I mean, that's it. It's 2024 now. Owen Casey might come up and be great. Someday Blake Hunt might get into the big leagues and pitch well. But at the time they were traded, those guys had helium on the move, young player on the rise, this, that, the other thing. That's why really Preller's been right when he moves young players who haven't made the big leagues for 2 or 3 years of a proven thing at the major league level. The problem was he overdid it. And when you miss on a couple of those trades and you trade 6 guys to Cleveland for Mike Clevenger, or 4 guys to Seattle for Austin Nola, that's when you wind up with no minor leagues to back up your big league team like last year. We don't need to have every prospect to back up the big leagues. We can trade some of those guys. We just need to be selective in the way we do it.
Absolutely. And that is also speaks to sometimes the front office of any team. This is not just Padres. You can really fall in love with a prospect, and you can sort of be blinded to sometimes maybe some weaknesses or some reasons to trade the guy. But yeah, when you're looking at, quite a few players in your farm system, you know, they're not all going to make it. They're not all going to hit, no matter how good they look in the minors. So you've got to figure out which ones do I part ways with? Which ones do I sell as having something that maybe I don't really think they have, but I'm just trying to trade the guy, right? And then also the timing of it, because like we just talked about depth, you want to be able to pull guys up when you need it because they're ready. And sometimes you're just in this window where they're not ready yet, or you've traded away the guys that maybe were closest to be ready, or you traded away the wrong guys. And that's what you want to avoid, right? Like you've got a pool of 6 to 8. You want to make sure you're keeping the 2, 3, 4 that should be kept.
And of course, the other team wants the 2, 3, 4 that,
Yes.
that you want to keep. I mean, that's the nature of it.
Yeah.
And Brock in the chat says, well, what about Jack Sawinski? He's been pretty solid. I would like to differentiate deadline deal trades with off-season trades. Off-season trades, AJ Preller's made a lot of savvy moves, and he's utilized these low minors or really did great in A-ball type performances to get veteran pitchers to this team. At the deadline, he's made mistakes, like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the majority of the mistakes he's made in his career have been at the deadline, on commission and omission, to be frank. So that's the only thing I would say about that. Yes, Jack Sawinski's been good. We traded him for a couple months of Adam Frazier. Not smart.
Oh, Adam.
Didn't work out, which then got us Ray Kerr for a couple of years, which then allowed us to help pay off Matt Carpenter's bad contract.
Yeah, Ray Kerr did all right.
It was all right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He was
for what
fun.
he was. Yeah.
Before we get out of this segment, Braden, do we have that clip of our buddy Joe Musgrove?
Mm-hmm.
Let's hear what Joe had to say about establishing an identity for this team coming out of spring training.
We need to do a better job of, identifying what our identity is as a team. From the get-go of spring training, I felt like we had expectations of what we expected of ourselves as a group, and it wasn't talked, openly and out loud enough for everybody to understand what that was. So we found ourselves in a little bit of a hole early on, and trying to find your identity when your back's against the wall is a little difficult. So I think we need to set the tone, early on in spring training and figure out what those things are that we're going to, what the standards are here, and make sure everyone's on the same page.
Is it a completely different feeling from a year ago? And there's so much hype and expectations from day one of spring training.
Yeah.
Does it feel, when spring training started, does it feel different?
It feels good. I mean, Schilt's done a really good job of starting those first steps of building the foundation of the team and what our identity is going to be. So ultimately, I think communication is one of the biggest things. As players, you don't want to feel like, you're being told everywhere you're going to be and what you're going to do. It's nice to feel like you have a little bit of say in that, but ultimately you want somebody at the top that's running the show that, takes a leadership role, and, everyone kind of falls in line behind him, makes things a little bit easier.
Because the others had those expectations now. Was that tough to live with last year just because it was so much hype around this team?
Yeah. I mean, ultimately it falls in our hands as players. We're the ones out there, that have the opportunity to win and lose games. Obviously, your manager can put you in better situations and give you the best opportunity. But when you're out there, you got to go out and do your job. And we fell short in meeting some of those expectations and doing some of the small things that allow us to be in the positions to succeed.
Well, your thoughts now that you heard me paraphrase it earlier. Now you've heard it from the Musgrove's mouth.
I definitely think that he is alluding to there not being enough communication and setting enough of an identity last year, and that being started early in camp. So I think you can read between the lines. Now, different managers do it differently. Some managers are more clubhouse leads the clubhouse. Leaders lead the clubhouse. And some are more, I'm going to be stepping in and setting that foundation. Now, I trust Joe, right? Like, I mean, he is a leader. So if he's out there saying we still need that, we still need a guy to set the intentions for the year, and then, we'll do our part. I love that. And he's being honest about it. And he was also in a tough spot last year because he got injured. So the leadership that he would normally be able to provide, it's a lot harder to do when you're on the injured list. It's a lot harder to be that guy. I also want to point out he's wearing a new shirt that said SD like, when they do the collaborations, SD by Camp 44. Camp 44 has now become Joe's thing, where all the pitchers come out early before spring training. And they have this week we saw the bonfires. We saw them all out on a sailboat. They had bullpens at Petco Park. They did a bunch of, calisthenic-y strength training things together. This is something that Joe started last year. And then it looks like it continued this year, and they put a little brand on it. So when you have a leader saying those things, I think it does point to this year might be different because of this.
How can I, this is an honest question, and you're in the clubhouse all the time. So you're somebody who could comment to this. Is it possible for a starting pitcher to be the leader of a clubhouse? That is traditionally fallen to a position player, because a starting pitcher is out there 1 out of 5 games for their team. There are many other great pitchers who have not taken that clubhouse leadership role, because they're like, that goes to the third baseman or the shortstop, or, the veteran first baseman is where it used to be in San Diego. But boy, from all accounts, from all of his actions, never mind his words, it feels like Joe Musgrove is really the leader of this team.
He is. I don't, it's hard to say, right, who is the leader, but this clubhouse is one that has worked in the past with several leaders. And to your point, Craig, usually a pitcher does not infiltrate the main leaders of the clubhouse, but Joe is definitely up there. Joe is up there with Manny. Craig Stammen was up there with Joe and Manny when he was here, or when he was playing. And that's very rare. And I think Joe realizes that's an opportunity for him. And Manny realizes that's an opportunity for him, because it helps Manny too to have a guy like Joe, who is maybe a bit more talkative with the rest of the clubhouse and things like that. Not that Manny isn't, but you're just reaching different people most of the time, right? So usually in clubhouse meetings, they would both talk. Manny would talk and Joe would talk, which is different than maybe other clubhouses, because you typically don't have a pitcher infiltrating that kind of leadership. Speaks to who Joe is, and then also the rest of the clubhouse being open to that.
Yeah, and the very last thing I'd say, I know we got like a minute left in this segment, is again, listening to the negative space there was discussion of what didn't happen last spring, and then it immediately pivoted to what Mike Shildt is doing this spring.
Yeah.
Which really leaves me listening to the negative space of what Bob Melvin maybe didn't do last spring, and what maybe was needed for a clubhouse, but was not recognized by a man who was, paid a lot of money to be the leader, the 60-plus-year-old manager, 3-time manager of the year, the guy who's supposed to bring it. Doesn't sound like he really brought it last year at this time. Not saying he's a bad skipper, but maybe Mike Shildt's a better fit for San Diego. Hour number 1, Annie and Elsten. It's all done. We're going to come back. As it comes in, we're going to bring you sounds of AJ Preller talking to the Padres media. That and much more between here and 2 o'clock on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. This hour of Annie and Elsten is brought to you by the Farmer's Dog. Welcome back. Annie Heilbrunn, Craig Elsten, Braden Soprenet. I see that in the liner, and this is the first time I've hit it at the top of the hour.
And because it's only that is the liner.
Yeah.
So don't you always feel like you need to add a little after that? Yeah.
Yes,
Farmer's Dog.
Where the dog, the booty.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't actually know your tagline, but the Farmer's Dog sounds like a great product.
Yes.
I'd like to have it for Sammy at home, my dog. We named the dog Sammy, not to be confused with Sam Levitt. Sammy Spring Training, completely different race, completely different person, an actual human being who is working hard to deliver us content from Padres Spring Training in Peoria, Arizona. It is hour number 2. It's 11 o'clock. We do our Padres deep dive here traditionally every day on Annie and Elsten. And we were thinking we'd get some AJ Preller sound. I don't know. I haven't seen anything.
I haven't seen even any tweets like Preller said.
Yeah,
Either
nothing
what's
from any of
being
our
happened, either it's
reporters.
not happening or it's in the middle of happening, or what's happening is just non-newsworthy.
I remember going down there when I was doing pre and post and waiting around for any of the manager press conferences, and the token, and Annie knows this too. The token. What time does this 3:00 press conference start? And it would usually be like 3:40 or it'd be like 3:30. Be looking down. AJ Casville would say all the time, "What time's the 3:00 press conference start today?"
You know who was so prompt though? If we can just give him a acknowledgement, is Bomel. He was Bob Melvin. If he was supposed to talk to the media at 3:25, he was there at 3:24. I mean, he was super prompt as a manager.
Good.
And I know like Dave Roberts isn't like there, because I see like the griping from other reporters about just what Braden said.
What time's the 3:00 press
Right.
conference start? You look down at your watch. You're like, oh, it's already 4?
And you're just standing around out
You're
there.
waiting.
You're like, dude.
It's like we got other stuff we have to do for our
Yes.
jobs.
Yeah.
but-
Yeah.
Well, we will hear from him when we hear from him. This is where I start to dream.
Well, we got
Like,
some Preller stuff. Here we go.
okay.
We got some now?
Yeah, Adam's sending it through, but we have the Schilt thing first, and then we
Okay.
can get to it. if you
Well,
want.
doggone it. I was ready to dream upon he was supposed to have a 10 a.m. press conference, but then the trade got so hot that he was right on the verge of completing it. So he backed off for an hour so that he could go really make news instead of not talking about news.
Wouldn't that be something? That would
Wouldn't it
mark
be
a new
something?
season for the Padres. That would mark a change. What if Preller came out there and he's like, I'm in the middle of a huge trade and I just can't talk to you guys right now. I just finished it, or
Yeah.
here's what it is.
Please,
That'd be fun.
That'd be cool.
Please.
But, can't say anything till it's official. So
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. Well, we do have some Mike Schultz sound from this morning, courtesy of Sammy Spring Training. So why don't we dig into that, Braden, while we've got the opportunity and before we hear from the general manager. What do we got from Schulte here on this clip?
It's talking about Fernando playing multiple positions at once.
Oh, okay. This is fun. Let's do this.
It hadn't got much traction, but if anybody could do it, it'd be him. So he feels good and right. He could play clearly anywhere in the field.
Now, he held the no smile almost to the end of that. That was
and if
pretty
you're
impressive.
the reporter or you're Sammy, you're in the media, you're not ready to crack a smile yet because you're like, where's this guy going? Is he joking or not? And he held that no smile. He looks serious. Now I would like to pat myself on the back here for a second. On February 7th, I tweeted, is it really a problem if Fernando plays all 3 positions? I was giving him left field at that time too. Who says it can't be done? So Schulte and I are on the same page, and I got to give Schulte credit. It's a long season. Throw in a joke here or there. Love that.
That's great. I hope he's not serious. No, I mean, I don't know. I'd start really thinking about it, I guess.
I love how he said hasn't gotten much traction.
Yeah, didn't get much. That's where he cracked the smile when he was like, didn't get much traction.
That's great.
Absolutely love it. All right. Oh, wow.
I see Preller on this.
Yeah,
on this
now
YouTube
we have
stream.
AJ Preller. We have a quarter zip. We have
Press conference was at 11 today.
Oh, so it's just getting clipped right now.
Well, no,
Yes.
but wasn't.
Apparently
it's
that they
11
pushed
now.
it back.
But it's Mountain Time there.
I know, but
Oh, they
Oh.
pushed
they
it
pushed
back.
it back to 11
Mm.
Pacific.
Okay. I don't know.
Maybe they confused everybody. Maybe they got confused with the times.
Maybe
The
they
time
did.
change.
But he's looking like he's got his hair's a little longer.
It's quite disheveled.
It's quite disheveled, but
He's growing his hair
that means
out.
he's in his thinking mode. Yeah, like
He's
it's
growing his
normal
hair
for
out
him.
until he makes a trade, and he's countering that with all the "let's make a trade."
Freshly
That's funny.
shaven face though, looks ready to go.
All right. Well, we've got a Preller queued up. Let's
Ready to
hear
go.
let's hear what he's got to say.
Talking about the young players, Jackson Merrill and Jacob Marcy,
Of course.
and having the ability to contribute in the outfield during the during the season.
Yeah, no, I think we're open in terms of their ability to compete, to make the club. I think we're gonna find out more, but I think they put themselves in position. Specifically, Jackson's case, last year getting AA, playing well in the AA setting, get a really good off season. And I think with Jacob Marcy, Graham Pauly, those guys getting the AA and then playing in the fall league. Jacob, getting the MVP of the fall league. The league's designed to speed up the development of some really talented players. We think they're really talented, and we know their work ethic and how hard they work. And so they're coming here not just for the experience, they're coming here to kind of see where they stack in with our current group.
Got a Luke Combs concert going on.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I was like, "Where's Tracy Chapman to join in?" That was nice. That's the exact same thing he said at the winter meetings, almost word for word.
Yeah.
And I really, really, really take issue with the constant bringing up of the Arizona Fall League as some sort of accelerant for major league talent. We did this on the show a couple of weeks ago. We looked at all of the Arizona Fall League MVPs in history, and one of them debuted in the major leagues the next year after winning the Arizona Fall League.
That's it.
One.
Only one.
That player was Ronald Acuna Jr.
He's kind of good. I've heard of him.
Yeah.
It's not but I don't think our guy's as good as him.
I mean,
Maybe he is. Maybe he is. That'd be
Chris
great.
Bryant was Arizona Fall League MVP and debuted in the big leagues 2 years later.
Wow.
Nolan Arenado was Arizona Fall League MVP and debuted in the big leagues 2 years later. So the idea that what he just put out there, well, we think Arizona Fall League is supposed to be a play, but it's nonsense. It's actual nonsense. Like, Jacob Marcy should be ready a year from now based on the history of what's happened. But to put him in a year early could be pulling the souffle out of the oven before it's set.
The Arizona Fall League is not the determinant for the next step in terms of
Had a
the
lot
following
of
year.
had a lot of great players roll through there, but that doesn't guarantee that it's like, oh well,
that they're ready.
He's making it sound like the guy was the MVP of all of Major League Baseball last
Yeah.
year. Right?
No, it was an Arizona Fall League that many of the folks who cover the minor leagues, which is not me, I just read what they write, said was one of the worst pitching years in the history of the Arizona Fall League. That it had some of the fewest live arms in the history of the Arizona Fall League. So our guys beefing up against that's nice. It's great for pump and dump if you're going to, pump up his value and dump him off in a trade. But to actually call it your starting center fielder is weird. Braden, make sure that the sound's coming through to the YouTube chat, if you will.
I got everything
It's got all the
set up for that to work. So I don't know why that in particular is not working. The first one, I fixed the problem on that, but I think people were complaining about Luke Combs on the other one.
Oh, that could be it.
We'll recap his answers too for you guys on the YouTube.
All right.
stream.
If he said, okay, here's
This is
AJ
about-
again.
this
What's
is-
he going to say?
He's talking about the pitchers they got from New York
No,
for
yeah.
Juan Soto. Yeah, no, yeah.
I think we're excited just in terms of, I think, trying to identify, a lot of, pitching talent and depth. We knew, we were going to have some holes and some openings that we're going to have to fill. And I think, kind of the guys have come in as advertised, especially from a makeup standpoint, work ethic, aptitude. Our scouts and staff did a lot of work on, a lot of guys in that system. There were a lot of guys that we looked at, but the 5 that we chose specifically, I think because of the way they go about their business, the way they want to learn and grow, and that's what we've seen, really from the 4 pitchers and from Higashi Oka. So I think we're excited. We're excited to see how they do and how they perform, and those guys I think they're excited about the opportunity.
Yep, cool.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get flagged on copyright for that song.
Okay. Oh, good. Now they got audio. So he's excited about the trades.
Get knocked off the air.
The Yankees.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Cool.
You would hope he is.
He's not saying
I mean, he
anything.
traded for them.
Yeah.
He's talking. He ain't saying anything. It's
All
just the usual stuff.
Yeah, it really is so far.
He's got another one.
Let's go.
I got another one.
I love it.
We'll
Let's do
see
it.
if he says anything. You know what? I think the fun game should be, instead of me telling you what he says in the caption, we should
guess?
just try to figure it out. We should just figure it out. What
What's
is he
the
actually
question?
talking about?
Okay,
Yeah,
absolutely.
we have to
play
guess.
this next one blind. Let's figure it out.
We're gonna
Okay.
play this next one blind, and we can figure it out. Amazing. Why didn't I think about this before? That'd have been great. Great
Sure.
content.
Sure.
Absolutely.
I mean, the first 2 would have been easy, so I'm sure this one will be easy.
Absolutely.
Let's go.
Give me a second.
Hey, I'll just tell you while you're waiting on that. I was listening. I mentioned this earlier to Eno Saris on a podcast previewing the Padres. He was pretty high on both Randy Vasquez and Johnny Brito, and especially in comparison to pitchers that he made the statistical case against. Pedro Avila, number 1 on that list, is like Avila is like not interested. But he thinks that Vasquez has a chance to have 4 at least average pitches, pitching in a good ballpark, and that Brito's got a little more upside in terms of maybe having 1 or 2 plus pitches, but Vasquez being more balanced overall. But it was some really encouraging words from a guy who really knows pitching, Eno Saris.
Absolutely. That's good to hear. And he's looking at a lot of different pitchers around the league, so he's comparing things. So that's good news.
All
Or
right,
could be.
here we go. Let's go blind. Quarter zip is pulled up. AJ Preller, what you got, baby?
Obviously, Peter, led in a lot of different ways, but I think in terms of like messaging, it's all about winning championships. It's all about getting to the postseason, putting a really exciting product on the field. That hasn't changed in any way whatsoever. So Eric Cosenza stepped in, and we're constant in communication, similar to myself, Peter, Eric Blumer on the business side. That part's been pretty similar, and I think in terms of big picture messaging, it's all about winning and going to win championships, and that hasn't changed in any way at all.
Okay.
Well, we know that question.
Yeah, that was just reacting to Cosenza versus Seidler.
Right.
Is there a new message
New
in
mission.
spring training?
Yep.
I would almost guarantee you that was preceded by noting the almost $100 million drop in payroll, and that it hasn't gone back up so far. So great. The messaging is to win a championship. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
He was asked about the organization's plan moving forward, both in baseball ops and business, since the passing of Peter. Is this the exact same press conference we got in the winter meetings?
It really is.
In the exact same order?
Because not much has
Pretty
changed,
much.
right?
Pretty
Right. But I
much.
mean, we couldn't like phrase the question a little bit different, maybe, to some of these guys. Like, it's the same stuff. I like what Adam Paul had to say. It's like, it's too bad us reporters can't just be like, are you going to say anything? Or like, are you just wasting our time?
When I hear these comments, I try to just shut my brain off, to be honest, and just say, this is how AJ talks. Why am I listening? You know what I mean? What I mean?
Sometimes you just have to get him on record. Like with a lot of these guys, you need to ask the question, you need to get it on record on this date and get the answer.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, though. It's like, as 3 media members that have done broadcasting and reporting and a lot of different things in media, you can't just give up too and just be like, I'm tired of this. Like, this is a waste of my time, because then he wins. Because then you're not going to get any info from anybody, because they're just going to be like, well, if I just pretend like I don't know anything, they're just going to stop asking questions.
But also any of the main like beat people or whatever, like they're going to get their, to your, like, I'm agreeing with you, Braden. They're going to get the meat of what they need to know, not in front of the cameras. They're going to do it off to the side.
The best press conference in that dugout is the post press conference. Press conference, when they actually ask the questions. It's kind of funny. I mean, I don't want to give out the secrets of this thing, but you can just look into the dugout. what they do the generic press conference that we air all the time, and then they like look around, like all of them, like they all look around, wait for the camera guy
Wait for the
from
three
from
TV cameras to walk away.
Wait,
100%.
Then ask the real questions.
wait for everybody else to put the recorders down, and then they go, all right, what do you want? What do you want to know? And then they go into like full detail of exactly everything you would need to know about the San Diego Padres. It's really quite comical, to be honest with you. But I want that coverage. Where's that coverage at? So we got to get Sammy on.
Yeah, but I like seeing AJ on camera. Like he's out of the dark room that he was in for the off season. Let's see how you're doing there, AJ. You're still alive. You're kicking. Good.
Absolutely. The Shield 1960 in the chat says AJ can't win at this point. LOLs. And I get that. Really, like I said, I kind of just want to dismiss the press conferences, focus on the actions, ignore the words, never mind what they say, look at what they do.
Sure. You have to.
That's always a great just guideline.
Oh, we got another one.
It's a great platform.
Let's do it, Brady.
Do we want to play the game again?
Play the game.
Yeah.
It's an easy game.
Let's try to figure out what AJ Preller is talking about without any context. We're going to try to guess what question AJ Preller was in fact asked. As I get this thing, there's a lot of moving parts to do this on YouTube, but here we go. All right.
We have flexibility. I think part of that is we've tried to put a lot of time and effort into adding depth and quality to the team and the roster. So there's going to be some fun competitions to watch here in spring training. But again, like it's been a later developing market. Really, I think we've had like real honestly trade conversations that are still ongoing. That usually at this point in the season, most teams are kind of focused on they have their roster getting to spring training, going and playing. We've been pretty active, like, in terms of there's still obviously some talented free agents that are out there. Obviously we signed Profar, yesterday, the day before. And there's some active trade conversations and similar to last year, I think I don't know if we had Michael Wacha at this point in time in the season. So, we're always going to be looking to add and improve, the team that starts right now or starts camp here in the next couple of days. It's not going to be the team, that obviously we finish with, and there'll be a lot of different options as we go through the year. And honestly, I think there'll be some options as we go through spring training.
Is outfield a bigger need right now, or is it more so first base DH back?
Yeah, I think probably outfield. I think we have from an infield standpoint, with Cronenworth, Kim, Xander, and Manny. And some other depth behind that with Jackson and Graham and some other 6-year frees that are here. I think from the outfield standpoint, obviously a good place to start with Fernando Tatis, and adding Profar to the depth standpoint. But we're going to continue to look to, to add to the outfield mix. We like some of the competition we have in the camp currently, but that's an area that we've had some ongoing conversation, both free agent and trade market as well from the outside.
Do you still have some money to spend?
Yeah, no, it's again, like every year we get, budget standpoint. I think that's kind of the flexibility as well. There'll be some flexibility from a player standpoint, and then also from a dollar standpoint. So I think we're open. We do have the ability to add if we'd like to. I said it before, we're not just going to add to add. It's got to be the right player in the right situations. And going into the year with some dollar flexibility as well will be attractive. So we'll weigh that out as we go to the next couple of weeks.
Okay, we learned something in that.
There's a few things there we can pull out. AJ.
All right,
Well,
number
we
four.
see you.
Number 4, give it the green check. Ba-bing. This is a useful.
You need a little
comment.
warm up, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
This is a useful comment. He said in this comment, late developing market.
Mhm.
He said trade discussions ongoing with Padres and other suitors today. Now.
It's happening.
Saying something that we have said on the show as well, that normally by this time of the year, most teams are not interested in a trade.
Mhm.
It's just like right after you draft your fantasy team. Like, you're not really always interested in a trade. You just got those guys, right? Like, this is the roster we put together. Why do I want to change it right now? That's what most GMs normally, say at this time of the year. Preller is saying in this clip, no, that's not the case. There's plenty of movement. There's still plenty of players. And then he finishes by saying, we do have room to add.
Mhm.
We can spend more. Now, he didn't say how much, but he says
Said
we can spend
flexibility.
more. We have flexibility financially. We don't just want to make a knee-jerk move. Okay, cool.
Now, he mentioned the outfield is a point of concern. I think he threw, I'm not sure. It sounded like he mentioned Profar's depth, but then Jackson and Paul Graham as
That was the only part I didn't like
Yeah,
from that quote.
Jackson and Graham, he mentioned were options as like DH infield depth, or
I guess.
I guess that's kind of what I heard from that. But okay, so Craig, let's take glass half full. Now you need to see the action. You just said it a minute ago. The words that was promising. Okay, hey, things are happening. What's working? There's flexibility. There's money. There's Now let's see what happens.
They got an interesting one that they asked AJ Preller that involves a former Padre that we can listen to when we get back.
Love it.
Let's take a break and continue our deep dive to what AJ Preller is saying this morning out at Padres training camp in Peoria. We are back with more spring training sound on the home of Padres baseball, 97.3 The Fan.
Spring training is underway, and for the latest Padres news, try listening to chapters from the show. Every day, each topic we cover is broken out so you can find what matters most to you. To get started, download the Odyssey app.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it. Do it. Annie and Elsten here with you, going through our 11 a.m. Padres deep dive. AJ Preller has been speaking to the media for the last 15 minutes or so. We've pulled out a few clips. That last one we played right before break actually had some substance in it, with Preller asserting a market that is still moving, a market that is moving late, trade interest that continues through the day, and the roster flexibility and financial flexibility to continue to add to the team. I wouldn't have expected him to say less, but him saying it, it's good. Is this the next one? Are we ready to go?
I'm not ready to go. It just started playing. I hate pulling stuff off Twitter. It's so annoying.
And it auto plays.
You gotta reel it back, and then it's like the way this thing works with StreamYard is you gotta flip it on two different screens. It's a lot of work, but we're here to go. We're ready to roll. Thank
goodness, though, we've got you because you are solid and you can flip the screens.
That's right. You got to be technically savvy around these parts. Not bad. Not bad for an old soul. I could still use technology.
Yes. You combine your boomer tendencies with some Gen Z technical ability.
Exactly. I'm a Gen Z and boomer at the same time.
All right. What's AJ got out of his bag for this one? Let's hear it.
Talking about, do you want to guess? We kind of talked about off air, though, so it kind of eliminates the guess part. But anyway, everybody keeps talking about Blake Snell. They asked him what are the chances that the Padres can potentially bring him back.
Yeah, I mean, as far as Blake, obviously he can help any team. I think we all seen it the last 3 years. He's incredibly talented. We don't really comment specifically on any one free agent, but Blake can help anybody. He's a super talented pitcher, and I think any team would be good to have Blake. But again, like specific players, individuals, that's internal, and we'll keep we'll keep looking at different possibilities, both in the on the position player side and on the mound. But honestly, there's a lot of excitement for the group that we have here. We think we've got a lot of guys that are going to step up this year. But last year at this point in time, Seth Lugo was kind of a little bit of an unknown in terms of what he could do, in a rotation standpoint. And he was able to step up, and then we added a Waka. And then obviously Blake had the Cy Young season. But, I think from this year's standpoint, we have a lot of guys that we think are going to step up and perform well for us this year. And I think that'll be a big part of the camp is kind of evaluating that group and sorting through them and see how close some of our prospects are and seeing which guys do take a step for us.
There was an absolute key. There was a verbal tell at the start of that clip. Did you hear it?
He was like, no, I no.
When he is engaged in something and is answering more toward the affirmative, he will say, yeah, no. He goes, yeah, no. And like the no is kind of like that's the platform he jumps off of, right? He's like, yeah, I know. There's lots of blah, blah, blah. That one he went, yeah.
Yeah, not happening.
There was
guys.
no.
Yeah.
No.
He also turned an answer about Blake Snell into something about Michael Waka, Seth Lugo, seeing what the depth is. I'm not saying it can't happen with Blake.
It's not happening.
That led me to believe it's very unlikely.
It's not happening. When he says yeah without the no, it means no. That's what it means.
I love it.
The translations.
Preller translator machine.
Preller speak.
Yeah, I don't know if Duolingo offers Preller
they should.
as a dialect, but the more of these clips you play, this is like fulfilling a lesson. Here we go. Clip number 6 from AJ Preller.
I think with Jake, I think he'll be the first to tell you. He's probably knows there's more in the tank, knows there's more on the field for him. I think the one thing with Jake though is when he really started getting it going, he got hit and got hurt, So I think we're starting to see him kind of round into form and swing the bat the way we know he's capable of. But he's a winning player, he's a guy who controls the zone. He's a really good defender. He can play multiple spots. I think he had a really good offseason by all accounts. I think he's excited to come in here and show, the type of player that we know he is. And I think he's going to be motivated to come back and have a big year for us.
That was the second half of the season when he's referring to Jake kind of turning a corner, correct? And then he got hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. He did play. He hit better in August.
Right. He was
There's
after
no
the All-Star break. Right.
But he was so bad the first 4 months that hitting better in August still got him to career lows in
Yeah.
all of his categories. We have talked about Jake before. We could spend a segment on this, but very simply, I don't know. Do we have another clip, or is that
man, we got clips flying off the handle right
Love
now.
it.
Clippity
I
clip,
so
clip,
I'm all for the
we
clips.
could keep going with
Yes,
more
we can.
clips.
Okay, so we'll do more clips. I think I've said this before. I think you agreed with me. This is the most important year in Jake Cronenworth's career.
Mhm.
Period.
And I believe he can play better than he played last year. As we've talked about, his stats have been trending downward over the last few years or whatever. But I do think that there's more that can be had there with Jake Cronenworth, and I'm excited for him if he can tap into that this year.
It's got to be this year. One more year of
Yeah.
decline, and he is literally a year away from being on another roster or out of the game. And that sounds crazy because, as you just heard, you heard AJ Preller say he believes this is a winning player. This is a player that contributes to a winner because he has versatility, zone control, good defense at multiple positions, etc.
And look, they need him. They need a left-handed hitter that is able to get some big hits, that is not maybe just going for the power, that can drop the ball into the gaps, that can bring a guy in. They need Jake to get back to being that guy, a big hit guy.
If not, big trouble. All right, clip number 7. What's up, AJ?
Yeah, we're not going to force anything, at the end of the day, we're not going to look up and hurt their development process, for a need basis. We won't do that at all. We'll make sure that if they're not ready, then they go and continue to develop. So I think that'll be a lot of the conversation. Spring training is trying to judge that. Sometimes spring training is not the best time to evaluate, but I think we know those guys well. We kind of know where they're at, and we'll weigh that out, in terms of where they're at, ability to help the team. But I think coming into camp, we're open-minded. That's probably the best way to phrase it, to the possibility of, seeing where they're at, and, again, seeing if they're the best option for us. And on top of it, it's good for them and they're ready to play.
When you have the number of guys that are kind of there, knocking on the door, AA, that are close as you have right now, what is the balance between building a roster that affords them opportunity, but also kind of needs to make them earn it?
Yeah, no, I think you always want to make sure that guys are earning their, that they're earning their spots in the big leagues. You're never going to hand something to somebody, but we've seen it here in the past. Guys like Chris Paddock, guys like obviously Fernando. When he came in here, they took the jobs. And I think that's what we're looking for is players that come in here and just take the job and make it pretty clear that they're the best option for us. If they don't really do that, it probably means they need more time down in the minor league. So that'll be a lot of things that Mike and his staff will be looking at consistently. Our front office and scouting group will be talking about it, but we're going to look to see if I think when guys are ready, they kind of show you that by kind of taking the job and performing consistently, and that'll be part of our evaluation process in spring.
Okay, so that was beginning with a defense of the Padres' rapid promotion of players, right?
And whether guys sounds like they're assessing whether guys are ready. The question sounded like it was something maybe about would guys be ready out of this spring training to make that jump?
Yeah, or force feeding them into a situation that they're not ready for, and he starts by saying we're not going to do that.
Correct.
And then he transitions to it's hard to evaluate players in spring training, which is wild because that's the only thing we've heard all winter is that we're going to get to spring training and see how these players act or, how they fight for a job. And then he kind of finished with, you could take the job, but we're not going to give it to you. Mm-hmm. So I do like that.
Yeah.
In other words, like if Marcy hits 600 in
you
spring
force
training,
your way on. Your Fernando Tatis Jr. and Eric Hosmer and Manny Machado are going to AJ Preller and saying, you have to bring this guy up and start his clock right now. We need him on this team. It needs to be that kind of scenario, which is what happened with Fernando when they brought him up. What I hope they don't do, because I heard that Chris Paddock reference, is I remember when Chris Paddock made his debut and there were cowboy hats and it was like the second coming, and it was way too big. Yeah. It was way too much for what that guy had. And when you put someone that high on a pedestal that early in their career, it was the wrong thing to do. And that speaks to a different time. The Padres were in a different time where you were really only excited about your minor leaguers coming up. There really wasn't that much else to you
Right.
know. So I understand that it was a different time, but I hope that is not the case
They
with
were
these guys.
drastically looking for something and somebody to market for so long. You know,
Right.
Pat, remember, like they had the Austin Hedges like section, the saxy section with the
Yeah.
saxophones, and it was just like they
Yikes.
were so desperate to have some player to market that, and anybody that had any success coming up through the ranks was just like, this is the guy's the face of the franchise. I mean, how many faces of the franchise have the Padres had since 2015?
My boy Will Myers.
5 or 6, right? I mean, it was Myers, it was Hosmer, it was Manny, it was Fernando.
Chase Headley, the franchise.
Right. I mean, how many of these guys were the face of the franchise? And they just kept being like, this would be the face of the franchise, and something would happen, or their play would go down, and then they'd find somebody new to be the face of the franchise. And it was just one over the next, over the next, over the next, over the next. And that's the same thing with the Paddock thing. I mean, you can't be giving young guys this big head going into the major leagues.
And this pedestal of expectation, you just can't do it. It's the wrong thing to do. Again, a different time for the Padres.
But
it was.
You can't let history repeat itself.
Right.
It was. And if you do bring in a rookie, a Paulie, a Marcy, even a Merrill to the big leagues this year, I mean, sure, they're still going to do an Instagram video for the kid. Like every front office and marketing department does that now. But
you can do the hype. You're going to have some hype.
Just don't start creating giveaways like within the first 2 weeks of the season.
The sheriff and the whole thing.
Right.
And I mean, it was just a lot. But
because remember, they would tweet out, it's Paddock Day, and then everybody would wear cowboy stuff throughout the ballpark. And it was just like,
it hurt Chris Paddock. I think
Yeah.
ultimately because that fall from grace was so hard and that expectation was so high.
then his family was all about it,
Yeah.
and then fans were getting argument because it's cool when it's good. And then when it goes down, you start realizing that not everybody's got your back all the time, and you got to be able to adjust from that. And he wasn't ever able to do that.
Let's take a time out.
Yeah, some hype will be warranted for sure.
Sure,
Yeah.
right. And I just don't think with a roster with Manny and Toddy and Bogarts and et cetera, that anyone can come in and kind of be the man in the Padres clubhouse these days. We already said it. Joe Musgrove's the man in the clubhouse, and then Manny, and then the rest of these cats. So that part won't happen again. Rushing a prospect and potentially screwing around with their development, despite what was said at the beginning of that comment, I feel like it softened all the way through. It went from like, no, we're not going to do that, to, well, it's hard to evaluate anyway, to, well, what if they hit well? Maybe then we will. So we'll find out. I'm actually curious what y'all have to say about what AJ Preller has said. If you have any comments, you can dial in 833-288-0973. We'll take your calls in the next segment. After having heard all of this, with our Padres Deep Dive 11 a.m. hour, there's one thing I remain concerned about, and we'll talk about it when we get back, right here on the home of Padres baseball, 97.3 The Fan.
Quinn and Chris on the Fan.
Guys, I love the three of you. This show pumps me up. The only problem is I'm driving when I hear it, and my foot goes further and further down on the pedal as I'm choosing sides.
Be careful.
You guys are amazing. And Chris, I got to thank you for being as passionate and opinionated as you are.
Listen to Quinn and Chris weekdays from 2 to 6 on 97.3 The Fan, San Diego's #1 sports station.
Hey guys, it's Woodsy. Lower mortgage rates are here, and smart homeowners are wiping out all their credit card debt with help from Loan Pronto. Right now, Loan Pronto has a cash-out refinance rate of just 5.49%. That is a huge drop. So you can refi now, get cash out of your home's equity to wipe out all the credit cards and other high-interest loans. You can save hundreds every month with lower payments. Or if you still have a mortgage rate in the 3s, you can use Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit. Just get the cash you need, leave your primary mortgage intact. Loan Pronto can get you $50, $75, $100, even $200,000 in just a matter of days. Bottom line, Loan Pronto's got several options to help you
All right, we got a couple more Preller cuts to play here. He has been continuing a press conference that I guess might still be going at the Peoria Sports Complex in Arizona. We've played about 7 Preller clips for you in this 11 a.m. hour. A couple more are queued up. Braden, let's hear him talking about Ha-Sung Kim and reacting to trade rumors surrounding the extremely popular middle infielder of the San Diego Padres. Which we're going to pull up the video, and then here it comes.
There we go. Yeah, no, we've talked about Ha-Sung throughout the offseason. Obviously, he's coming up on a potential free agent season, so I think we've been in communication with him, and he understands, I think what we think about him as an organization. We value him a ton. He's, arguably our as important as any player for us on the field last year. He played great. So I think he understands that he's another guy who can impact the game on both sides of the field. And, I think we're excited to have him here. And, I think, he understands like the value he brings to us and what we think about him. And, I think he's ready to have a big year, honestly. Yeah, no, we
Okay. Yeah, no.
I mean, that's, I guess, what you would expect from an answer about this time. There's probably been talks about certain things. The talks probably haven't progressed to any kind of resolution kind of place where it's necessarily optimism, pure optimism on both sides. We're gonna have to wait and see on that. I do think he's gonna have a big year, especially if it's his free agent year. So I think Paul was right about that.
Yeah, he said nothing there.
Yeah,
he said we
really
value him. He's a really good player.
Right.
Okay. What's next?
Ha-Sung Kim's future in San Diego.
Okay.
No, I mean it's really all. I'm not going to go through one specific player. We've had like a lot of conversation because of I think the depth we have in the system, and I think it's again like you can see overall whether it's on a farm system standpoint, you see like prospect rankings. The more important thing is when other teams are calling you asking about our players. So we just had a lot of conversation about a lot of our players. I think with the Kim situation, we were pretty consistent through the off season. Like you're never going to hang up the phone. You're always going to listen on any player when anybody calls, but it wasn't something we were pushing in any way. I think it was basically, you see him as a huge part of our team. I think most likely if we're going to play well, it's Ha-Sung Kim in the middle of the diamond for us playing like he's capable of playing. I think the teams understand that. Teams will call from now and then, but I think we try to make it pretty clear that we want to have our team pretty set going into this period of time, and I think he's a part of it for sure.
Have you had any conversations with him or his agents about a long-term deal?
Yeah, I mean we've again I'm not going to go into any real details, et cetera, but we've made it known to Ha-Sung that we value him. He understands that. And, again, like ultimately, it's hard to line up on some of these things at times. So that'll be, something, in terms of like how that all plays out in the next, over the course of the next few months. That'll be between us and Ha-Sung and his representatives, but he understands kind of where we're at and what we think about it.
Next few months.
So you're either looking at Ha-Sung Kim is getting traded early on. Ha-Sung Kim is getting traded at the trade deadline if he's having a year like he had last year or better. Or Ha-Sung Kim is playing out this season and walking away at the end of the season.
Yep.
Or Ha-Sung Kim is being signed to a 10-year, $400 million, extension. And I don't know how the Padres do that. I don't even know, as much as listen, Ha-Sung Kim is amazing. I don't know that you have the ability or should even put another huge long-term contract on your books. But look, if you're going to do it for anyone, Ha-Sung Kim, I've heard Tony Gwynn Jr. make the point, and as well as others, that like you don't know if is last year as good as it's going to get, or are you going to get even better? And how does that compare around the league? Obviously at those positions and with that money. So, yeah. How did you interpret that?
Cagey, diplomatic, not trying to burn anything that he has an opportunity to do. I have said so many times on this show, and I will, and as I wear my Ha-Sung Kim t-shirt today on the show, like, how does this team make any sense when they sign Ha-Sung Kim to a long-term extension.
Yeah.
How does it make sense for me? How he is to be what? Our shortstop? So now we're going to move Xander Bogaerts to second base, but Jake Cronenworth, now what are we doing with that? And then there's Jackson Merrill. So now is Jackson Merrill just a center fielder? Are we abandoning the fact that he was a shortstop coming up through the major leagues?
I think you are.
In all of those scenarios, you're overpaying for multiple positions.
That's right.
Way overpaying for multiple positions, because despite all your shortstops having shortstop contracts, you can't justify paying Bogaerts $25 million a year to play second base.
Or move over to first, I guess.
You can't really afford him to do that either. You can't afford to pay Jake Cronenworth the money he's playing.
The money's spent though, Braden, right? Like
I
now
know,
he's
but
with us. So what do you do?
But with roster construction, if you're going to move it around, it's not a smart decision.
Do you put Jackson? Did I ask this before? Do you put Merrill at first?
That's really weakening his value.
Also, where then you put the other guys, right? Like you still have that issue of
you're better off moving a guy that's already under
crowded
contract
infield
to second or first than you do that somebody that doesn't have a contract yet, whose agent is going to basically throw a fit because all your value is gone if you enter the free agent market as a second baseman compared to a shortstop or a corner outfielder.
I invited folks to call in if they wanted to react to what they've heard from AJ. Kevin in San Diego answered the call. He dialed in on 97.3 The Fan. So let's bring him up. Hi, Kevin. Welcome to Annie and Elsten. How are you?
Doing well, Craig. Thank you. So I have a couple observations at a real high level, and I think some of it I heard enough from that press conference and was kind of just shaking my head. It starts with Mr. Seidler, and I think when he passed away and we went into the off season, my thought process was, all right, let's see what happens and how this unfolds. And my fear, which is sadly I think coming true, is that he was about to pass away, went all in on the team, spent probably way too much money. The team started to have financial problems, clearly underperformed, combined with just awful roster construction by Preller and company. And now here we are without, in my opinion, we still have one starting caliber outfielder. The two other folks that could play outfield in Profar and Azokar are at best fourth or fifth outfield options. And I think everything you've talked about with Kim, with Cronenworth, with the Bogaerts deal, there's these monster contracts that are really being allocated to players that are, really underperforming what their worth was or is, and we're locked in with them. And one of our better performing players, Kim, in terms of WAR, really doesn't have a position. And if you do sign him to a long-term deal, you just nailed it. Where does he play? So, I mean, I'm concerned, and I guess the bottom line here is I think Preller's more or less worn out his welcome and had about a decade to have 3 or 4 runs here with the team. And, the more I listen to him, the guy's not a fit. But we're in for some pain, I think, with this roster. Like, I'm trying to kind of be glass half full, but I mean, you're talking about prospects and rookies being moved to positions that they haven't played, and then fitting them in right off the bat. That's not how good teams that know how to win operate their franchise.
Kevin,
and that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, really good comment. Good call. I appreciate you calling. And honestly, you helped me platform here because we've got like a minute and a half left in this segment. I said as a tease, what is my number one concern? It's AJ Preller's ability to construct a roster. It's something that all the way back to the winter of 2014, he has shown weaknesses, blind spots when it comes to holistically building a roster from front to back. And the idea that we're still here in spring training and the pieces are moving and the shuffling is happening and we're talking about multiple options, again, that's uncertainty. There's always uncertainty within San Diego. The last time we had it was last year, and then there was no urgency, which is what we found out from Joe Musgrove earlier in the show. So really interesting comment. Good call right there.
Thanks, Kevin. Yeah.
Okay, well, we've got less than a minute left in the segment, so we're gonna pin it here. This has been our Padres deep dive for today. We do it every day at 11 a.m. And thanks to spring training, now we have all this just fertile ground of quotes and sound bites.
It is. It's nice to have the sound and just hear it from their mouths, right?
It is. Yeah, no.
Yeah, no. No, yeah. Yeah, no.
Yeah, no.
no.
Yeah, no equals yeah. Yeah equals no. No, yeah. Kind of goes in between.
A sigh and then, yeah. That's also.
That's a hard no. This has been your AJ Preller diction and conversion class. We're back with the 12 o'clock sports fix next.
On the Fan.
Coming up on Wednesday, well, love is in the air. It's Valentine's Day.
What do I like or what do I love?
Oh, no, I like it creamy.
Listen to Ben and Woods weekdays from 6 to 10 on 97.3 The Fan.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. GEGE 000466.
Hey, it's Ben and Woods. By now, you should know that 7 Mile Casino is San Diego's closest, friendliest, and all-around best place for California-style blackjack, Texas Hold'em poker, and all your favorite card games. But did you know it's also a great place to watch sports?
There are TVs everywhere you look and the phenomenal wood-fired pizzas, pastas, and great salads at Sammy's Bar and Restaurant.
Don't forget about the 24/7 players menu and a next-level brunch on Saturdays and Sundays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.
And did we mention how close it is? 7 Mile Casino, just minutes from downtown.
Metro knows you don't take life's yada yada. Like how there's 10 hot dogs in a pack, but only 8 buns. The math ain't mathing.
You don't take yada yada in life. Don't take yada yada from your wireless provider. Get one line with all the 5G data you need for just $25 a month when you bring your phone to Metro, where there's no activation fees and nada yada yada. Only at Metro by T-Mobile. Switch to Metro, bring your ID. This offer isn't available for customers currently at T-Mobile or that have been with Metro in the past 180 days.
Hey guys, it's Woodsy. Sick and tired of achy joints? You dread the idea of surgery? You got to call QC Kinetics today. Listen, the state of healthcare is always changing. The old ideas like steroids and surgery are no longer your only options. Regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics is transforming lives. Innovative, non-surgical, drug-free treatments that deliver lasting results. Knee pain, back pain, shoulder pain from arthritis or injury. Do not let this pain keep you from living your best life. Call QC Kinetics today. Their advanced state-of-the-art treatments harness and direct your body's natural ability to restore and repair damaged joint tissue. This is a revolutionary approach that can get you long-term relief with no downtime. Make 2024 the year you reclaim your mobility, reclaim your independence, walk and run and play and live without the danger and trauma of surgery and without harmful drugs. Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation. Locations in Hillcrest and Torrey Pines. Call 619-614-PAIN, 619-614-PAIN. That's 619-614-PAIN.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right. Get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit, hims.com/joy.
If you want to be the first one to find out when the Padres acquire the next star player,
This one, gonna go! First home run of the year for the Padres is the first for Xander Bogaerts.
then follow us on X at 97.3 The Fan SD. KWFN and KWFN HD1 San Diego.
Tony Gwynn Jr. here. Don't worry about missing Padres news. We'll update you on the latest on your way home. Gwynn and Chris, weekdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on 97.3 The Fan.
Always live on the free Odyssey app. San Diego, hitting the airwaves live in America's finest city. It's Annie and Elsten.
Oh, what time is it? Time to kick it.
A fresh local sports talk show about having a good time in the sunshine of San Diego.
Guess I've been working so hard, I forgot what it's like to be hardly working.
With your hosts, Annie Heilbrunn and Craig Elsten.
Ooh, doggy, we got a party now.
Featuring Braden Surprenant. The good good times start now. Here are your hosts, Annie and Elsten, on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
High noon lunchtime Tuesday, February 13th. Annie and Elsten, your new midday hang. Back with you on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan, with Annie Heilbrunn and Braden Soprenet. My name is Craig Elsten. It is 12 o'clock, and if you don't know what that means, well, it means this.
Oh, time for lunch, eh?
Hey, Mom! The meatloaf! We want it now!
We'll see your mom cut the crusts off your bread.
Mom, the meatloaf!
Well, you probably missed a lot in the sports world. Don't worry, we've got you covered from high school to professional and everything in between on the 12 o'clock Sports Fix on Annie and Elsten.
That's right. It is the entire sports world, local, regional, national, delivered to you in a little bow in under 10 minutes. We call it the 12 o'clock Sports Fix, and today we're kicking things off with Padres spring training and MLB news with Annie Heilbrunn.
Okay, well, Bebo is back. Fernando Tatis Jr., he has appeared at spring training in the flesh. He is present a few days early before all position players need to report. The Giants signed Jorge Soler to a 3-year, $42 million contract, and Jenny Cavnar, former Padres pre and post and Rockies pre and post, she was named the play-by-play voice of the A's, a historic moment. And then, of course, we've been hearing from A.J. Preller. He's been talking all morning, and here he is on the live market, still available for the Padres.
I think part of that is, we've tried to put a lot of time and effort into adding, depth and quality to the team and the roster. So, there's going to be some fun competitions to watch here in spring training. But, again, it's been a later developing market, really. I think we've had real, honestly, trade conversations that are still ongoing that, usually at this point in the season, most teams are kind of focused on, they have their roster getting to spring training, going and playing. We've been pretty active, in terms of still obviously some talented free agents that are out there. Obviously, we signed Profar, yesterday, the day before, and there's some active trade conversations. And similar to last year, I think I don't know if we had Michael Wacha at this point in time in the season. So, we're always going to be looking to add and improve. The team that starts right now or starts camp here in the next couple of days, it's not going to be the team, that obviously we finish with, and there'll be a lot of different options as we go through the year. And honestly, I think there'll be some options as we go through spring training.
Braden, over to you for college.
All right, got a lot of news in college athletics, especially when it comes to college football. Yes, ESPN and the college football playoff are in agreement on a 6-year, $7.8 billion contract extension that will make the network the home of the 12-team tournament through 2031 and the 2032 season. Sources briefed on the deal told The Athletic the full contract's completion is still contingent on CFP leaders finalizing details of the expanded format in the wake of the implosion of the Pac-12. The CFP's management committee and board of managers have meetings scheduled for the next week and continue to work through the complicated process of settling their outstanding issues. The ESPN deal will not be ratified until the commissioners and presidents vote on a structure and financials of the expanded CFP. ESPN Senior Vice President of Communications Josh Krolitz and College Football Playoff Executive Director Bill Hancock both declined to comment. But $7.8 billion contract extension over 6 years, ESPN will retain the rights to the CFP. As for college basketball, a lot of big games today throughout the country. Oklahoma takes on Baylor, UCF at BYU, Ohio State at Wisconsin, Ole Miss at Kentucky, Pitt at Virginia, Illinois State at Indiana State, Duquesne at Dayton, and Michigan at Illinois are all your ranked matchups. As for the Aztecs, they play host to Colorado State coming up at 6 o'clock Pacific time on CBS Sports Network. Should be a good one between the Rams and the Aztecs at Viejas Arena. West Coast Conference action. USD will not be in action until Thursday. As for UCSD, Thursday will also be their day as well. And that's a look at college athletics. Craig?
Means it's my turn to talk a little arena sports. And believe it or not, on a Tuesday night, we do have arena sports here in town. The San Diego Sockers are doing their makeup game against the Texas Outlaws tonight. This was originally scheduled for Sunday, January 7th, and then a water main broke underneath Pechanga Arena, San Diego. Whoops, all wet. Well, they've dried it all out now. So The Outlaws were already scheduled to come in for a Thursday night match, so they've just made it a Tuesday, Thursday, Texas two-step through Pechanga Arena. So it's a 7:35 kickoff tonight for the Sockers, trying to avoid history. They are coming off a loss in Chihuahua. The last time the Sockers lost 2 matches in a row, March 13th, 14th, 2021. So it's been almost 3 full calendar years since that happened. San Diego not intending to let it happen against a 9-6-1 Texas team that will be without each of their top 3 goal scorers, 2 of which are at the U.S. futsal training camp in Buenos Aires, and a third who is injured. Gulls will host the San Jose Barracuda tomorrow at 7 p.m., looking to keep the good times rolling on the ice for the Gulls. There's your arena report. Annie with the NBA and NHL.
All right, well, the Minnesota Timberwolves beat the Clippers last night, 121-100, hanging on to first place in the Western Conference. Tonight, the Pistons will be at the Lakers, and in the NHL, Ducks are at Montreal this afternoon. Kings are at Sabres. Braden, anything in the high school arena to talk about, or high school realm?
Well, high school basketball playoffs start tomorrow, so this will be the last day with no high school basketball going on. Spring sports are getting started very shortly with spring tryouts and everything moving forward with that. But boys basketball will officially start their playoffs tomorrow throughout the county. Divisions 1 through 5 will all be underway tomorrow night at the host sites of the higher seed. And then coming up on Saturday, the open division will start their games. I'll have a full preview of that coming up tomorrow. Sports Fix on some of the big games that are going to happen on Wednesday. But nothing really much to report on today in the high school basketball world.
And there it is. It's a Tuesday, slightly lighter day. So it takes us just about 7 minutes to bring you the sports world in the 12 o'clock Sports Fix today. We'll do it again tomorrow at 12. We'll do it every day at 12 o'clock. Just peeling out of this, the $7.8 billion for the college football playoff.
Billion.
Big B. Big B. That's Dodger money right there.
There are deferrals. Are there
$7.8
deferrals, Braden?
There's no deferrals. It's funny. They're working on a lot of different things. There was a big article today by, I'm pretty sure it was Ross Dellinger at yahoo.com, detailing all the meetings between the commissioners of the main power leagues, which are now 4 of them. And the talk is a lot of it about expansion of March Madness and how are they going to do revenue sharing with the college football playoff and how they're going to do this and that. And there's a lot of, turning points with college athletics right now, none of them involving the NCAA, as, you have conferences teaming up with each other like the Big Ten and the SEC. And there's a lot of moving parts of what the future of college athletics is going to be. And a lot of it has to do with obviously revenue sharing with the athletes, revenue sharing with, these big TV corporations to the schools. A lot of this money funds all the other sports as well. So it'll be very interesting to see. And it sounds like a lot of these tournaments, they're looking to expand because the more teams that are in it, the more money that conferences can make with their teams getting it. Just like San Diego State made a ton of money for the Mountain West last year to cover a lot of the expenses of lower, not as popular sports, consumed wise. They get a cut off of all of these things. So $7.8 billion. There's a huge industry for college athletics, and they're gonna be expanding a lot of things. I'm against the expansion of March Madness, but it sounds like it's inevitable at this point in time.
Oh, I'm all in favor of expanding the playoff. I'm all in favor.
For football, yes.
Yeah, football.
But basketball, absolutely not. And they want to expand.
Yeah.
They want to expand basketball, but it's not.
What, to 128?
There's different things that they're talking about. I mean, I think there's like a way. The reality is they want to get as many of the Power 4 schools in as possible. And their argument is like a 19 and 16 Syracuse at the end of the year, 19 and 17 Syracuse, who doesn't make the tournament, but would probably beat High Point, right, out of the Big South in a game. And the argument is, well, we don't have the best 68 teams into the playoff, which I think is a slippery slope, because I feel like if you win your conference in college basketball, you got to keep everybody in it. So they're trying to find ways to get those teams in while also still giving a dangle of a carrot for the non as powerful conferences, because if they all align, all of a sudden they got to go stick it to the Power Four in some way, shape, or form. So there's some proposals out there that each conference gets 2 automatic qualifiers, and then that way it feeds more big schools in with a different avenue as well. So I'm not a big fan in expanding college basketball's postseason. I think it's the best postseason you could potentially come up with, but I was all in favor of the football expansion of the 12 teams, and it's a big lucrative industry, and all these conferences and schools want their cut to pay all their athletic department expenses, which are very, very high. There's only one athletic department that makes money, and it's Texas. Everybody else is usually breaking even or losing money.
You know, it's just funny, Braden. It was a long time ago. It was when you were a little kid, but people argued so strongly against any playoff in college football.
Oh, don't get me started.
20 plus years ago, let me tell you, the specious arguments that were leveled against having a playoff in college football.
You're giving me PTSD.
The joy of the bowl season and you know, too long of a season, it's going to injure the student athletes. We're not centering their education closely enough.
Even though high school players play more games to win a state championship
Yes,
than
sir.
colleges do.
Yes, sir.
Nobody cares about the FCS. They have a 2014 playoff.
You know, the
Wanna bring that
Washington
up?
Huskies went undefeated and had to share their national championship with the Nebraska Cornhuskers because it just came down to who voted which way or what at the end of the year. And people thought that was great. I'm telling you, Braden, there were people in the media that thought that was great. Oh, look at all. What's going to happen? Who knows? The vote's going to come out. Like, and what was the counter argument the whole time? You're going to make a bleep load of money when you do a college football playoff. Fast forward February 13th, 2024. How much money? How about $7.8 billion for 6 years?
I used to explain that to people back in 2014, 13, 14, when they finally got the playoff. I was like, enough with the meaningless bowl games at this point in time. Just start cranking out playoff games because you're going to make a ton of money. And people are like, well, you're going to watch the bowl games. I'm like, yeah, but I'm going to watch a playoff game more than I'm going to watch a bowl game. And based on, I do love the fact that all the votes now for the top 25 get exposed so you can see who's voting for who. Based on how people vote for the top 25, I would say 90% of the people voting for the top 25 shouldn't even get a vote. I'm sure Ben Higgins agrees with me on a lot of this. But the fact that those 25, 26 people might have a say in who wins a national championship based on their opinion of how a team plays and they don't watch all the teams is absolutely absurd. Let them decide it on the field, how it's supposed to be. So I'm really about the 12-team playoff. I'm sure they'll find a way to screw it up because they did it with the 4-team playoff as somebody disgruntled back from 2014. But I'm just glad it's finally coming to a 12-team playoff. It's long overdue, and that's significant amount of money that these schools are going to use to be able to fund track and field and all these other sports that cost a ton of money to run.
All right, real question for you, Coach Braden, before we wrap this segment up. Honest, real question. Expanding to 12 teams. It's a perfect undefeated season for San Diego State. Do they have a path?
They're in.
They have a path.
My thing is with the 12-team playoff as currently constructed. Now, again, they might mess this up, but the cool thing is you need a unanimous decision in order to change any of the format. And right now, one of the voters is Washington State's president.
Okay.
And
Pac-2 is in.
Right. So he's not going to change anything based on how everything is constructed, which means there are 6 conference winners that are automatically eligible for the college football playoff. Even if they move it to 5-5, there's not enough conferences to not include a San Diego State with a 12-0 season. By the way, and I'm talking about this year, let's say they do go 12-0. Who would they have to beat in order to go 12-0 Both teams of the Pac-2.
Okay.
They play Oregon State and Washington State. So you would be I'm basically the Pac-2 champion as well. So you basically all you have to do to compete to make a spot would be the winner of the American, which all their best teams are now in the Big 12, the winner of of Conference USA, who is not going to be better than San Diego State if they go undefeated, the winner of the Sun Belt, and the winner of the MAC. That's who you're competing with. And they won't even, I'll guarantee you right now, they're not giving Oregon State or Washington State an automatic bid unless they go undefeated and go hammer some teams that are not in their conference. So to answer your question, from a logic standpoint, for the next 2 years, until they change it, because they're going to change it after 2 years, this is the 2 most important years for San Diego State football to be relevant. I said that like in the fall, and I continue to say it. These next 2 years are the most important 2 years of San Diego State football in the history of San Diego State football. So, yes, if the Aztecs do go 12-0, win the Mountain West Conference for a 13th data point, they're in.
Well, that changes everything. It to me, Annie, it literally changes everything, because I've been living in this town since 1990, and the best thing that Aztecs football could possibly aspire to was to, win the Potato Bowl or the Armed Forces Bowl.
Las Vegas
Bowl.
Bowl.
Las Vegas. Yeah,
Vegas,
baby. Right. Like, oh my God, we won Vegas. And honestly, I feel like there's like almost like a generational rot in that of like fans going, now listen, I'm not speaking to the avid San Diego State football fans who have supported their club year in, year out. I am not talking about you guys. I want you to, guys and gals, I want you to understand that however you identify. I want you to understand that. I'm talking about the casuals. All right. I'm talking about people like myself that didn't go to your university, that doesn't have a college football team, because I went to UCSD. Right. So
until they get a college football team.
Well, now if they did, right. And then
Craig will be first in line for season tickets.
Put Tritons on each side of the helmet, gold
Page Earl Edwards.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd love it. I'm pretty sure he wouldn't love it. It's pretty damn expensive. Nonetheless, I've always felt like I hate to be this way, but like, what's the point? What's the point of being an Aztec fan? I've seen your absolute best. I've seen 11-1, win the conference, win the rusty oil can, and get to the Vegas Bowl, and then play a game. And who cares? Like it's over. You can't win anything compared to the basketball team that every year can be in a tournament that will end with a national champion in Division I. Now, if you're telling me that every Aztec season, even if it's a shoot the moon, if every Aztec season could end with a national championship, that changes completely my thoughts about following the franchise.
And when Braden says, when you say that these next few years are so important, what kind of record do they need to get where?
Well, I mean, the thing is, that's kind of a loaded question, because what I'm saying, they will never, ever, ever get an at-large bid to the college football playoff as currently constructed. They'll never get it. I mean, they could play 3 SEC schools and load up they'll never get an at-large. That's not for them. But if they continue to have this deal with a group of 5, which is now, I guess, going to be the group of 6 with the Pac-2 or whatever you want to, determine that as, if they give an automatic bid to one of those 5 conferences, you have a chance by just being the best out of all of the conference champions in that group. Again, you're competing with Western Kentucky, and you're competing with Buffalo, and you're competing with Akron, and you're competing with Central Michigan, and you're competing with, Navy and Army, who are both in the American Conference. I mean, you're competing with a lot of schools that, and a lot of these conferences have good football teams. I mean, it's not going to be easy to do, but 10-2, 11-1, 12-0, depending on what your schedule is like, that is a really good chance of getting an opportunity to play in the playoff as the group of 5 representation. I mean, look at Tulane. Tulane a couple of years ago, they got to go to the Cotton Bowl. They were the best team out of the group of 5. They won the American Conference. They're a really good football team. And they hammered USC in the Cotton Bowl. And that was their chance. And then, you know what? After that, if it was the 12-team playoff, they would have advanced to the next round. And then you would have seen what you got. Would San Diego State ever have a chance of winning a national championship in football? No, because the gauntlet of what they would have to go through would be way too much. They wouldn't have the same amount of depth as the big schools. I mean, sure, you never know. But they would be able to get in, and they still have a chance to get in. But after 2 years, that's the 2-year window that the Pac-2 has to basically get their crap together. And after that happens, they're going to re-vote on this thing. And any opportunity to cut out the group of 5, the powers to be will try to do that. So that's why I said, because the next 2 years, they're not changing the rules. And the rules that they're changing do not affect the group of 5 conferences, which means if San Diego State wins their conference, which is very obtainable, I think, this year and the next year, they put themselves basically in a 1 in 5 chance to make the college football playoff.
They have a nice new stadium. They
Yeah,
have head coach
right.
Sean Lewis at the helm now.
And they
have
just got to
opportunity.
get on TV in that spot. That's what it's the Flutie effect. It is. It's the Doug Flutie effect. You saw TCU do it with the Rose Bowl. They went through the roof, and all of a sudden they're a Power 5 school. You see it with San Diego State basketball. I'm sure their applicants are through the roof right now, being in the national championship in college basketball. You do it for football, all of a sudden you got, students and other kids that are watching around the country going, seeing visuals of San Diego in the middle of December and January. And you're like, I could play college football there. Are you kidding me? Like, where do I sign up? I'll go there. Look, I can make the playoff doing this. So they just got to get their foot in the door. And then when they get in the door, just don't get embarrassed, which I don't think they would. And you never know. I mean, I don't think they'd ever get a host site, but could you imagine a college football playoff game here in San Diego? I mean, seeing San Diego State host somebody do it would be sweet. But they have, long story short, though, it's different. They actually have a competing chance now.
This is how the 12 o'clock Sports Fix works. We give you a broad look quickly at everything happening in sports, and something out of that always piques our interest to discuss for the rest of the segment. And here we are. Here we are with an interesting chat about Aztecs football. Coming up at 12:45, we'll be playing silly games today to try and qualify you for a trip for 2 to the Westgate, Las Vegas, and 2 tickets to Air Supply. We also, Braden, have a pair of tickets to see your home team in a spring training game at Peoria Sports Complex. What do you want to do for the giveaway on that?
You could do it any way you want. You want to ask a trivia question?
Wow.
Okay. I don't have one up my sleeve. I'm throwing out ideas.
Who is the
here.
first play-by-play announcer? Female.
Who's the first full-time female
Primary
play-by-play announcer,
play-by-play
number one play-by-play announcer in Major League Baseball history? First person to answer that question, 833-288-0973, wins a pair of tickets to see a spring training game at Peoria Sports Complex and qualified for the grand prize flyaway trip for 2, including spring training tickets, a Southwest gift card, and one-night hotel stay made possible by Peoria Sports Complex. Visit peoriabaseball.com. Your trivia question, who is the first full-time number 1 television Major League Baseball announcing female? We have talked about it on the show today. How closely have you been paying attention? Let's find out. 833-288-0973. You're going to spring training on us if you know Danny and Elsten on the Fan. We have a winner. You can stop calling. We have a winner. The answer was Jenny Kavnar. Jenny Kavnar, old friend, San Diego, cut her teeth, got things started. Channel 4 San Diego was an up-and-comer, rising star, moved on to Colorado, pre- and post-game, so many years, whether it was Root Sports or whatever platform the Rockies were on over time, wound up starting to fill in for Drew Goodman, starting to fill in both TV and radio, and now has been announced this morning as the #1 television voice for the Oakland Athletics. And hey, listen, you can so easily out there as a casual listener or a baseball, even a hardcore baseball fan, go like, oh, cool, you got a job with the A's. Like, yeah, great. That's super great. You get to call 110 losses. Like, that's going to be fun. But guess what? There's 30 jobs in the country, in the world, to announce Major League Baseball.
And
There's 30 jobs.
Right. And people don't typically leave their jobs. I mean, they're in their job, in that kind of job for as long as they're like on their deathbed before they're leaving. So
100%.
But the other thing too with Jenny is, even with all the moving around and who knows what they're going to do when they get to Vegas, which I think is a concern, she got her foot in the door.
Oh, yeah.
To do it on a daily basis and show that she deserves to do that job, which, I don't trust the A's organization. But that being said, she might get, there's now way more opportunities for her to do stuff just by getting this job. So that's the biggest challenge, is getting into that group. And then once you're in that group, you're able to get other opportunities, which is great.
I've got an
completely agree.
Yeah. We should get Jenny on the show.
Yeah, let's do it.
Do you have
I do. I will reach out.
Please reach out.
I reached out this morning.
I have an old digit. I don't know if
Yes.
it's the same. I don't know if she kept her 619.
I honestly don't know. I'm assuming the one I had is still what she has, but we'll see what works.
Okay.
I didn't hear back from her yet.
Yeah, let's get. Well, you know how it is the day that something huge happens,
You're
right?
inundated.
Oh my God.
And honestly, when I Googled her name a second ago, CNN has this story on this. Like, I am thinking that there's going to be a lot of people who are thinking like we are.
Right.
We'd like to have you on to talk about this.
So maybe in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have her on eventually. But
no, I'd love to talk
I did
to
reach
Jenny.
out to her this morning. Yeah, I mean, it's really something she should be so proud of, and kudos to the A's as well for being open to that. There's a lot of teams that would not be open to that.
And see, Jenny, we're trying to work to bring you back. We keep floating, trying to manifest the idea of the A's playing their games in 2025 and 2026 in San Diego. Just come on down. Come on down. Who needs it? Give me a break. Oakland fans are used to traveling.
Absolutely. And she wouldn't mind for sure. I'm sure people would love to be in San Diego versus wherever they're going to be, Salt Lake or Oakland or Sacramento or wherever they end up these next few years.
Yeah, that's just such a bad look.
Traveling circus A's.
Yeah, it's a bad look for Oakland. We've talked about the A's. We've talked about this, but I'm just really psyched for Jenny. That's so cool. Get that job. Hang on to it. Who knows where it leads you down the road.
Oh, yeah.
Incredible stuff.
And, Root Sports in Colorado, like the Padres last year, they kind of folded. They don't really have a identity in terms of what their broadcast situation is going to look like next year in Colorado. So as a broadcaster, you're sitting there going, okay, I might not have a job here next year. Who knows?
Right.
And I'm going to go put my hat in the ring. And she knows so many people also around baseball. She does Sirius XM radio for MLB2 appearances there. So you got to jump on these when they come around. Like you said, that there's just not a lot of opportunities in this area, and you got to jump on it when you get them.
Couple more things to chat about. Again, silly games coming up in our next segment. But I know you mentioned before the show, Annie, some thoughts on what Yu Darvish had to say to the media. Is this something we need to give Braden a clip to cue up, or what do you think?
Well, Shingo Hori does the translation, so I think I'll just run through a few of them. We can go back
cool.
if we want. We can go back and cue you up or Shingo up, but
Cue up you.
Cue up.
Yeah, cue you.
Me? Who?
So
You.
Yu Darvish talked to the media yesterday. Veteran in the game. First of all, arm is doing well. Health is doing well. He's ahead of schedule. He talked about being ready for Korea. And he threw a bullpen today that I saw on Twitter. It looked like it was an intense bullpen. So Yu has always manned his own schedule. He does a great job of that. So he also compared it to the WBC last year. He said, look, yes, this is an interrupted spring training, but it's different because I'm with the team this year. I'm with them traveling, where I'm with them versus being away from them for the WBC. So a little bit of a different situation. But he was asked about, there was a rumor for a while, and maybe it had been more of a rumor, but he shot it down, that he had kind of been advocating for the Padres to sign the Otanis or certain guys out of Japan that he was big on. And he was asked about it yesterday. And he said, I really didn't advocate for it because I knew where the Padres were financially. So this is kind of another nod to players seeing the situation, knowing what's going on. So he said that he kind of backed off on that, or he never really explored that. But he talked about the little details. He was asked, hey, the Dodgers are in a position where the Padres were last year, where all the pressure is on the Dodgers. And can that be a tough place to be? And you responded, it's hard to answer that question. The Dodgers, they're an organization that has had continuous success. They've been good for an extended period of time. So even if they had the team that they have right now, and maybe the pressure is there, I don't think that would really affect how they play ball. And so then he was followed up with, did it affect you guys last year? And he followed up with a little bit about how the little details, the Dodgers have they're very detail oriented. And he said, look, I'm not saying that the Padres aren't detail oriented, but maybe there's more we can improve on in terms of consistency, in terms of repetition, to become a more detail oriented team. So this is a guy who's played with the Dodgers, who's been around the block, who understands how different teams work. And I think it's good, just like your point about Joe Musgrove earlier, it's good to have the veterans talking about this. Hey,
yes,
we can improve. There's things that we can build upon. There's things that we can start to shore up. So I didn't take this as a negative. I took this as being respectful of the team that's up the road and saying, we've got some work to do.
Well, which they do, and I love that Mike Schilt hasn't taken the division off the table. Everyone else has, but I'm glad that he wants to keep the eye on, we're going to be the best team in the division. As Joe Musgrove said, and we played earlier, creating an identity out of spring training.
Yes.
That 100% just did not happen last year. Last year, it was, here's our Dominican team, here's our Curacao team, here's our Japanese team, here's Team USA, here's Team Mexico. We're going to scatter to the four corners. Doesn't matter. We got a 3-time manager of the year. And look, we got Toddy and Soto and Manny and Xander. This is, and Waka and Lugo and Snell. This is going to be our team, our year. And it wasn't. It wasn't. It was the most disappointing, consequential year in the history of the San Diego Padres. And they came out of spring training kind of like, all right, cool, here we are. Time to win, without doing the things that you have to do to win. And to hear all of this, and then kind of, and I loved how you've memory hold some of the bad parts of 2023. Like we only had one walk-off, right?
I'm like, oh yeah.
Like, every week of the 2023 season was a 12-1 victory, followed by a 1-0 loss, followed by a 4-2 loss where they left 16 runners on base.
Yeah. And we talked about earlier in the show about culture and identity. You, Darvish, said yesterday, going back to the Dodgers, they're very detail oriented. They make plays. They run the bases very well. They go full speed to first base on ground balls or whatever. It feels like they have that type of culture. The fundamental is there for them. So that's part of the reason I say they might be successful, even if there is added pressure. That is, like you say, what you're not saying. Hey, we got to be this kind of team. We need to look at our team and figure out in those margins. And Mike Schilt is very big on the margins. How can we improve?
TLT, the little things. There's like at Cathedral, we have that on the back of a lot of our off-season training shirts. It's a very big part of being successful in a lot of walks of life. If you don't take care of the little things, you're not going to take care of the big things just because, you assume that the big things are important to take care of. But that's something that the Dodgers have always done. Some of the Braves have always done. You go through the traditional teams that are always successful, and something that the Padres have yet to have. Not, doing things the Padres way. What does it mean to do things the Padres way? I'm fine. I'm glad that they have finally addressed it, and multiple players have said something like that. It's a different mentality, a different mindset going into the season than last year, than the previous year, than the year before that. And despite the talent, they still got enough talent. They have that right mindset, and they start taking care of the little things. They play hard, night in and night out, and do the little things right, like their competition. They're going to have a successful year, even though their team on paper doesn't look as sexy as it did last year.
God, there's part of me that just wishes you could time machine back to February 13th, 2023 and go through and how crazy they would all think you sound. Right? Going through the clubhouse
Come
going,
on.
you guys don't understand. You need to get locked in. This is your last year. This is it. Peter Seidler's going to be gone. Everything's going to change. You got to go. You got to go, guys. Like, and they'd be like, who are you and what? Why are you talking to me? We've got a $3 billion payroll.
Sometimes you got to fail to be successful. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, the Padres that are still around are learning that the hard way.
And there was a thought last year, and they said it towards the end of the season or middle end of the season. They thought we just have too much talent. Things are going to turn for us. This is baseball. They just turn, and they never really turned.
Yeah.
Fact check on one thing. Brandon is correct. Xander Bogaerts did have a walk-off homer on September 19th.
Oh, that changes
Of
everything.
2023. So you're right in the chat.
That was-
Two walk-offs, not
Right,
one.
right when we thought that they're going to just
Yeah.
make that run for the final
Yeah.
stretch.
We'll
There
give
it
you a
is.
fact check. That's it. Yeah.
So the walk-off, and then like a day or two later, Josh Hader said, what, are we in a playoff race?
yeah.
And the answer was, well, not anymore, pal. Thanks to you. All right, let's take a break. Silly Games is next. Call in to qualify for a shot. You got to beat me first in the Immaculate Game. Silly Games is a rotating game time slot. Time slot's the same, 12:45. 3 different games within the time slot. Today is Immaculate Game. Chance to go head-to-head with me and qualify for a trip for 2 to Westgate, Las Vegas, and tickets to see Air Supply. So call in now, 833-288-0973. Braden will set you up. I didn't. Braden will set you up during the break, and then we will play when we come back on Annie and Elsten here on 97.3 The Fan. Okay, we need a contestant and a caller for Silly Games. We're playing the Immaculate Game today. Your chance to go head-to-head with me on a baseball Immaculate Grid. Beat or tie me, and you will qualify to go see the Westgate, to see Air Supply, a 2-night stay at Westgate, Las Vegas, and 2 tickets to see Air Supply. So 833-288-0973. Need a caller to compete. 833-288-0973. Call in to play today's silly game.
The silly games we play.
That's Wicked Game.
Yeah.
I can't wait until we start playing the 1971 classic Silly Games at the start of this segment.
Yes.
Just coming back as our bumper every time at 12:45.
Well, you had an announcement to make today.
That's true.
Yeah.
And if you think the falsetto that you just heard from Ben and Woods and Frankie Valli was high, wait till you hear the chorus to Silly Games.
Ooh.
It goes way up there.
Okay.
Way up there.
Oh, I'm excited to hear this.
I can't even. No way. Never been great with the falsetto. No.
Okay.
No, I do not. I'm a solid tenor. When my voice is worked out, I've got a decent range, but I've never been great at falsetto. It's difficult.
I'm not great at any of that. So but you and Ben Higgins could probably have a little showdown on
he'll win
songs.
he'll win on falsetto.
Okay.
I mean, you just heard it. He almost got to the top of Sherry
did.
Baby on by Frankie Valli, and I
He
mean
did.
that's way up there. Cherry, like like that's yeah.
You think you know
Thank
more
God.
history
Thank
of
you. Thank you,
professional
Brady. Thank you.
athletes than Annie and Elsten?
Braden's like, we need to go to this.
He found himself a caller.
Let's
Thank
see
God.
if you can be immaculate with the Immaculate Game right now.
You
on
and Brady could have gone against
97.3
each other, I
The
guess.
He wouldn't qualify if he won.
I know. I
That's
can't
true.
win. Neither can anybody in our
However,
family.
let me tell you who can win. Marty in San Diego can win. Marty, welcome to Annie and Elsten. How are you?
Very good, everybody. Thank you so much.
All
Hi,
right.
Marty.
Here we go.
Hey, Amy.
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 Annie.
Annie.
It's okay.
It's all good.
Marty, we hope
Sorry.
that's okay. That one doesn't count against you in the game, just in our heart.
I was
That's not an incorrect answer.
I was, yeah.
It's all good,
I'm
brother.
rooting for you, Marty.
It's all good. All right, so here's what's going to happen, Marty. Here's what's about to happen. I'm about to walk out of the studio. Braden is going to set up an immaculate grid for you, okay? He's going to give you the columns on the top, the rows on the left side so that you can visualize what it is, the 3x3 grid, the tic-tac-toe grid, and then you'll have 90 seconds to fill in as many of the boxes as possible. If you don't know an answer, just skip it, try and come back to it. When you're done with your 90 seconds, I will come back in and have the exact same task. I won't know what you have answered. And if you tie or beat me, you will go to Vegas. Sound good?
Sounds great. Thank
okay,
you.
I'm out of here. Braden, take over.
All right, let's get Marty all set up, and we'll put the screen up there for everybody following on YouTube. Marty, I'm going to ask you 9 baseball questions. You're going to give me a player for each one. You'll have 90 seconds in order to do so. And at the end, whoever's got the most will win today's contest. Top bar, Tampa Bay Rays logo, Philadelphia Phillies logo, and a silver slugger. Left column, Padres logo, Astros logo, and the Texas Rangers logo. Your 90 seconds will start after you answer your first question. And that question to you is, can you name me a San Diego Padre, Tampa Bay Ray?
Blake Snell.
Good start. Can you name me a Padre Philly?
Padre Philly. John Kruk.
Always a good answer. Always a good answer. Can you name me a Padres silver slugger?
Tony Gwynn.
That is correct. Make sure I put the right one down. Astros Ray.
Skip.
Astro Philly.
Astro Philly. Steve Carlton. No idea.
Okay. Astro Silver Slugger.
Bagwell.
Can you name me a Texas Ranger, Tampa Bay Ray?
Texas Ranger, Tampa Bay Ray. Texas Ranger.
Be careful there.
Texas Ranger.
Can you name
Rodriguez.
Okay. Can you name me a Texas Ranger, Philadelphia Philly?
No.
And that is your buzzer, so didn't make it through the end. Ranger Silver Slugger was the last one that you missed as well. We will now bring in Craig. Where'd he go? There he is. All right.
Pretty good though, Marty.
That's
not bad.
Not
yeah.
bad. Not bad. Pretty good sense there. And we are running out of time, so we got to go quickly here.
Okay,
Craig.
gotta go quick. All right. Well, I mean, we've got
so-
more than 90 seconds. We're in good shape.
Here we go. Rays, Phillies, Silver Slugger across the top. Padres, Astros, Rangers to the left. 90 seconds on the clock. You name me a Padre, Tampa Bay Ray.
Sure. Francisco Mejia was both a Padre and a Tampa Bay Ray. I think we probably traded him for Blake Snell.
Can you name me a Padre Philly?
Sure. John Kruk was a Padre and a Philly.
Good guess there.
Thanks.
Silver Slugger
there you
for
go.
the Padres.
How about Adrian Gonzalez?
Oh, God dang it. Astro Ray.
Okay, and he wasn't Silver Slugger? Holy crap. Tampa Bay, Houston. Ooh, pass.
Houston, Philly.
Houston and Philly. Kurt Schilling.
You name me a Astro Silver Slugger.
Altuve.
You name me a Ranger Ray.
A Ranger who was a Ray. Oh, man. How much time do I have?
35 seconds.
Okay. Tampa Bay, Texas. That's feels sneaky to me. I don't know. Let's move on.
Ranger Philly.
Ranger who was a Philly. God, I'm coming up empty. Adam Eaton. Adam Eaton. The former Padre pitcher. Make sure you get the right one. Not
That's
that one,
the-
that one.
The 09
Yeah,
one,
that
right?
one. Boom.
Ranger Silver Slugger.
Juan Gonzalez.
Juan Gonzalez. Bang. At the buzzer.
6.
6 for
Very
Craig. 4 for Marty. Craig is today's winner. Congratulations.
Marty, good effort, good game. This is a hard game to play. I can't believe Adrian Gonzalez never won a Silver Slugger in San Diego.
I didn't realize that either.
Yeah,
I didn't realize that.
That's wild. But
Thank you, guys.
you bet.
Thanks, Marty.
Better luck next time, buddy. Thanks for calling in.
I was waiting for somebody to. This is one of the grids you could use Tony Gwynn and Tony Gwynn Jr.
Ooh.
on the same grid.
SD Philly would have been Tony Gwynn junior
Uh-huh.
Correct. And a Silver
Gwynn
Slugger for
Silver
the
Slugger.
Padres.
Why didn't I
I
just think
love
Tony
that.
Gwynn? That makes so much sense.
My go-to on the Immaculate grid for Padres Phillies is always John Kruk and Tony Gwynn Jr.
That's great.
It's always Junior because that's always a small one, like percentage one on the
Uh-huh.
list. And anytime I can put both Gwynns on the same Immaculate grid, I try to do it.
Tampa Bay is a tough one.
That's who's remembering
It's a
that?
tough one to dig out players just on a snap.
Especially
You know
because
what I
their
mean?
players move so often, right? Like
Sure.
they don't really have the generational players there.
I've started to get like the Ranger ones now because I spent enough time going to Ranger games in college where like I knew some of the guys. I want to feel like Robinson Chirinos played for the Rays, but I don't think he did. That was the first name that popped in my head.
Hey, shout out Adam Eaton, though. There was a time I thought you were really going to be something, man. One of my pride of Snohomish, Washington.
Ooh.
Adam Eaton. I've told that story on the air already, right? Now, maybe I'll tell the Adam Eaton story when we come back. In case you've missed it. I know I've told it in my podcast a bunch of times. Annie and Elsten here with you. Hour number 4 next on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. All right, hour number 4 of the show. Welcome back. It is your midday hang. Annie and Elsten with you on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Annie Heilbrunn, Craig Elsten, Braden Soprenet. Here till 2 o'clock. Gwen and Chris are assembling as we speak there. I mean, not out there.
Oh.
Not yet.
I was going to wait.
Just more like in a more general sense. They're preparing for battle. They're getting ready to dive in here for 4 hours with you from 2 to 6 p.m. Scraby sticks around for an extra hour of his own from 6 to 7. We are live on YouTube on the 97.3 The Fan page. Check us out there. Make sure that you subscribe to the page so that you'll be notified for all of our live videos. 13 hours a day. We are live on YouTube. Of course, 24 hours a day live on the radio on 97.3 The Fan. That was a fun, silly game.
Yes.
I get stuck on these things. See,
you get stuck on these things.
I get stuck on these things. An immaculate grid, normally I would fill it out. Last year, this was the biggest thing. Like last summer, immaculate grid came out.
Huge.
Very popular.
Everyone was playing it, I felt like.
Yeah, baseball fans geeked out. I did like 3 months of a podcast of me and Joe Sheehan, the national baseball writer, every day just comparing our grids. And it's always fun to talk about, guys. But there are some categories that are so much harder than others, like Tampa Bay and anything.
Yeah.
I've got a list from that old podcast. I've got a Google note of Swiss Army knives for immaculate grid, players who have played for like 10 teams, 11 teams, 12 teams, 13 teams. And like, I had to go way down the list to find a Texas Tampa Bay on my crib sheet. And it was Gabe Kapler, former Giants manager.
They just don't stick around in Tampa. They shuffle through.
Once the company starts to pay you, starts having to pay you benefits, they ship you out of town.
Yeah.
Can't afford it.
Harder to remember.
I did remember for Philadelphia and Texas, one Adam Eaton, who was acquired by the Padres in a trade from Texas. Was traded to Texas. He was acquired in a trade from Philadelphia. He was brought over along with Carlton Lower in a trade in, I want to say 2000 or 2001.
Pitcher,
right-handed pitcher. Not to be confused with the left-handed batting outfielder, formerly of Washington and other teams, Adam Eaton.
I love reading that Adam Eaton that you were just talking about, the outfielder. In one instance, received 6 licensing checks from MLB worth $20,000 each, and also received fan mail meant for pitcher Adam Eaton. It's pretty good.
Adam Eaton, 71-68 career record. Over 200 starts in Major League Baseball, through almost 1,200 innings in Major League Baseball. Very impressive.
Sure.
In the 2000s, he was a 2000 to 2009 player, made it from age 22 to age 31. I was trying to find, I've told this story a number of times, I think, on my podcast, so I'll tell it on 97.3 The Fan as well. But Ben Higgins should remember this too. 2000 to 2003, Ben and I were doing pre and post every day for Kogo. For the Padres. So we're in the clubhouse all the time. And Adam was one of the guys who was truly one of the cooler cats on those early 2000 Padres. He was not full of himself. He was a very grounded individual, very intellectual, smart guy, would engage you in conversation. And he was one of those extremely rare pitchers who would talk to you on his throw day. Like most pitchers, like
on his start day.
On his start day.
Oh, that does not happen.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So like you learn that like day one almost in a clubhouse, right?
And you pity the people who have not learned that yet. You try to stop them right as they're about to go to a starter.
Don't talk to him. It's not going to end well for you.
You see everybody in the clubhouse watch someone go up to us. There's always like one person who just, bless them, they just don't know.
They don't get it.
And they walk over to the starter and everybody follows them with their eyes. And then PR runs after them. No, don't talk to them.
Don't talk to them and don't sit on the furniture while you do it.
Right.
So it was either 2002 or 2003. Ben has better specific memory than me. I may tell this story and he'll manifest all the details for me in a text later. But Ben and I were just in the clubhouse, just, waiting for someone else that we were supposed to interview for the pregame show probably. And Adam walked by and engaged us. Right. Like we weren't, you don't talk to the starting.
But if he engages you,
right,
sometimes like, Joe will say hi or something like that.
Hey, guys, what's going on? Right. And at that time, I believe I was writing a recommendations column for fantasy or for gambling for some website. I don't even remember which website it was. This was literally over 20 years ago. And I said to Adam, like, hey, go get him tonight. I've got you starting in fantasy.
Oh, goodness.
Right?
You told a play. That's Craig.
I think you told me this story.
I think you may have told this story.
Annie was not here for this story, but I do remember. I know where this is going.
So I want to say they were playing the Phillies, but maybe Ben remembers better. But we then settle in at Qualcomm, and Adam gets his hat handed to him and serves up like a 3-run bomb to somebody. I don't know, Rico Bronio or Bobby Abreu or something like that. But just like he got pretty cooked.
The runs are coming in.
Yeah, I want to say he gave up like 6-3 or 7-3, something like that. And we see him a couple of days later downstairs, and he looks at me, and he's not mad, but he's just like, he's kind of got that stare. Yeah. And he goes, I thought about you on the mound.
You never want to hear that.
I never
You never want to hear those words.
I thought about you on the mound as I was getting killed. So I was getting smashed.
Yeah, it would be different, I suppose, if you threw a no-hitter or something. Or, then maybe, okay, I thought about you on the mound has a positive connotation.
Oh, my God.
It's very rare.
Yeah. And I was just like, on one side, I'm like, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. But let's think about two things. He talked to us. Okay. So I wasn't going to tell him. Should I have still not told him? Yes. I should have still not told him. I was younger. I was much less smart. I was probably 31 or 32 at that time.
Trying to make conversation.
Trying to banter, trying to have fun. But also, really? You're thinking about me on the mound while you're getting your butt kicked? Like, mental weakness, maybe? Maybe you don't have that dog in you like Matt Scraby. So, yeah, that's just, I'll never forget that.
Did he ever talk to you on his start day after that?
Probably not.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess no.
Yeah, but he was such a cool, like, laid back guy. And if I remember right, the Padres traded him and got both Adrian Gonzalez and Chris Young in the trade, in one of the greatest trades in Padres history.
Honestly, the difference between that Adam Eaton and players today is he'll still be cool to you. Where if that happened with a player today, even though he talked to you first, you'd be stonewalled from that clubhouse. You'd be the blame would fully go on you.
Yeah. Which is ridiculous.
Yes.
Ridiculous. Nonetheless, I couldn't agree more. Yeah. January 6, 2006. This has got to be one of Kevin Towers. This was Towers, I think. One of Kevin Towers' greatest trades ever. Arguably the greatest trade. What is the greatest trade in Padres history? I mean, I don't know off the top of my head what you'd say is the greatest trade in Padres history, but Adam Eaton, Aki Otsuka, and Billy Killian to the Rangers for Adrian Gonzalez, Chris Young, and Termel Sledge, who actually played at least a little bit for the Padres.
Trade.
What a deal.
Right. Yeah.
What a deal.
Worked out very well.
Can't believe Adrian didn't win a Silver Slugger here, but still.
I am surprised at that.
He was a 2-time Silver Slugger. And Boston and LA, of course.
San Diego getting the shaft again. We're going to recognize you everywhere else.
Right? He was a 3-time All-Star in San Diego, a 2-time Gold Glover. He finished as high as 4th in MVP voting here, but he was never a Silver Slugger. It was the very next year in Boston that he led the American League with 213 hits and was Silver Slugger of the American League. What a great career Adrian Gonzalez had.
Where is Adrian right now? Is he still doing work for an organization? I know he was doing stuff here in San Diego for a while.
I think he was a Dodgers announcer last year, wasn't he?
He was filling in with that, right? But I think he still does stuff down on the South Bay, if I'm not mistaken.
He does, I believe.
I can't remember.
And I feel like him and his brothers still work with young players and things like that. We can look into that.
Over 2,000 Edgar Gonzalez, yeah.
Edgar Gonzalez, that's right.
Over 2,000 hits, over 1,200 RBI. He came up 3 runs short of 1,000 runs. He was a 287 hitter in his lifetime. I mean, those are really good numbers.
Oh, yeah.
What was his total WAR? Let's see. B-WAR 43.5. So not quite Hall of Fame. Hall of very good.
Very good. And a boost for this organization. And I mean, think about those times with the fans watching him. He was the guy to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Derek Lee for Kevin Brown, but that was a 1-year trade. And Derek Lee went on to, did he win an MVP? I mean, he went on at least to win a batting title and do some great things in Florida, in Chicago, so on. That was a trade that just won on both sides.
Yeah.
James Shields for Fernando's cool.
That's got to be number
infamy.
one. That's got to be
It's
number
up
one.
there for
no,
sure.
that's number one.
I agree.
That's
And
number
you
one.
just see the Bartolo Colon home run in my head just constantly.
And then on this,
That was awesome.
was it on this station? I just remember Ron Fowler's interview, just setting that up. He came on right after it. He was not happy with James Shields. And then James Shields was traded.
Oh, then James Shields was gone. Yeah, that was a very short-lived time after he let up that home run and the panda trotted around those bases.
Oh,
That
my
was-
golly. What a great moment in Padres history. What a critical, seminal moment in Padres history. James Shields serving up the bomb to Bartolo.
Yeah. And James Shields always being tied now to Fernando Tatis Jr. I mean, that always being your claim to fame. Like, you're gone for this superstar that the White Sox were kind of just sleeping on, right? The White
Yeah.
Sox didn't even really know what they had in him yet.
You know, in the end, the trade that moved Adrian to Boston should have been fine. It really should have been fine. Like that was at the time looked at as a really dark moment in the franchise's history because of how great Adrian was and moving him in, the prime of his career, 28 years old, moving him along to Boston. But he had made it so crystal clear that he would not sign a San Diego friendly deal. He talked about the price of real estate and he talked about his responsibility to other players to get the maximum money. And while the Padres made a great trade to acquire Adrian Gonzalez, the trade they sent him out should have been fine. Sure, they got Casey Kelly and Ray Fuentes. Who cares? They got Anthony Rizzo, who went on to be a multiple-time All-Star and future baseball champion.
Before.
Problem is we traded him for
was
Andrew
traded.
Kashner.
Right.
Problem was we traded him for Andrew Kashner. And I think Anthony Rizzo, to tie it back to the present day, which we're just going to find a way to take a meandering, immaculate grid conversation and bring it back to the present day. When I hear Jackson Merrill's ready to play in center field, when I hear, that Pauly or Marcy are ready to make a jump from A ball up to the major leagues and be everyday starters, I can't help but remember Anthony Rizzo, who was a top prospect out of the Boston Red Sox system, was considered they're definitely the number one first base prospect, but one of the top prospects in their system when he was traded for. However, he came up too soon. He came up at age 21 when he wasn't ready. He got 49 games, and Anthony Rizzo hit 141 with one homer. 141 with one homer. And guess what happened after that? His stock went down in the organization because how good is he really? We rushed him up, and look what he did. 141 with one homer. Hey, look at that pitcher throwing 99 over there, Andrew Kashner. We could convert him to a starter, and then we'll have ourselves an ace starting pitcher for some first baseman who's a flameout.
And then Rizzo went on to win a World Series.
Yes. And put up 40 career WAR and is still in baseball. And, he's not what he used to be, but just 2 years ago, he hit 32 homers.
Yeah.
And that entire career could have been yours. So, which would have made the Gonzalez trade great. Hey, we swapped out Adrian for a younger version of Adrian.
What about the Trevor Hoffman trade? Gary Sheffield for Trevor Hoffman. Remember, Trevor Hoffman had a tough go in the beginning
Yeah,
and before
he
he
sure did.
became Trevor Hoffman,
He sure did. That was not one of the great trades in Padres history, but it was a really important trade.
It was a very important trade.
'Cause,
Defined this organization, really.
It should have been Hall of Famer for Hall of Famer. I'm still mad that Gary Sheffield's not in the Hall of Fame. I guess that the Veterans Committee will probably fix that down the road. Trevor made the Hall of Fame, but at least there was value there. There was big time value in that trade. The Donnie Elliott for Fred McGriff trade to Atlanta, not so much.
You can go
Melanie
down a
Evans.
rabbit hole with these and the different, because and what you're saying, Craig, what you think at the time, and then what it turns out to be. That's why it's also so hard to judge trades. You see people saying they won the trade, and the guy hasn't even, we heard it, bless Michael King. I think he was saying, and he's now a Padre, that AJ Preller won that trade with all the arms coming to San Diego. You don't know until usually the season or years go by and you see what you have, especially with some of these prospects and what you gave up.
Romeo Loves Dan makes such a point. He says Rizzo would have worn number 44 so proudly for years here. What would have happened? Would Joe have taken the number? I mean, he probably still would have associated with Jake Peavy, but nonetheless. And yeah, that trade in 1993, Fred McGriff to the Braves for Vince Moore, Donnie Elliott, and the iconic Melvin Nieves. Everybody remember some guys? Remember Melvin Nieves? 13 Oogie asked, did we win the Snell trade? Absolutely, we won the Snell trade.
Not too many teams win trades with the Rays either.
Right.
The Padres came up on top on that one.
I agree with that. The Rays are good at these.
Yeah, we used to say just don't trade with the Rays.
Mm-hmm.
And then look what happened. We got Jake Cronenworth from them, and then we got him. We got Blake Snell from him. That was a great trade for the Padres. That's probably a top 5 trade.
It is. It's
in
probably
Padres history.
Would Rizzo would he have kept 27 the whole time, or would he flip to 44 or 48 in New York?
These are questions.
Movements. Yeah, his Twitter is @Riz44.
We traded for Blake Snell, Blake Hunt, Cole Wilcox, Francisco Mejia, and Luis Patino. And those guys have combined to do nothing, honey. Absolutely nothing.
Right.
Blake Hunt has not made a major league appearance in baseball. We know Mejia and Patino, they have bounced from hither to yon. Mejia has never stuck. Patino is back with us.
Patino's back with the Padres, right? He's come full circle.
And Cole Wilcox, who got hurt and had Tommy John surgery, has yet to appear in a major league game. So even at this point, if Blake Hunt or Cole Wilcox ever came up and had an all-star season for Tampa, you still won the trade. You got 3 great years of Blake Snell, a Cy Young Award, a postseason appearance. That's all you got to do. That's all you have to do.
And what trade is coming around the bend, Craig? What trade is next?
You're on it with me on this. You are on it with me. We're making a point here, right? We're driving at a point. There's room to make a deal. There's room to make a deal. Every time, at the time, December of 2020, Blake Hunt was considered the top catching prospect in the system. Mejia was an up-and-coming star. Patino was the centerpiece of the trade. He was like the number 2 pitching prospect behind Matt Gore in the system. And Hunt they had just drafted him. Or Wilcox, pardon me. They had just drafted Wilcox, and they had this big projectable frame. He's 6'6", and he throws 98, and this and that, and this and that. And that's my point. I'll say it again. The highest value for minor leaguers is before they play. You can always dream on these guys and their prospect rankings and their future value before they play. Once they play, you have opened the seal on what really is their career. You have let the truth out. You have opened Pandora's box. And sometimes it's an all-star. Sometimes it's nothing.
And the other team goes, well, now that he's played for a season in the big leagues, numbers aren't that great. 1 home run.
Yeah.
We want to trade less for him. We want to give you guys less.
Major League Pitching exposes this guy. He's no longer playing in El Paso where the ball flies.
Exactly.
Happens a lot.
So the moral of the story is don't trade all your prospects. Don't empty the farm. We did that. We suffered for it last year.
Don't be afraid to trade him, though.
Don't hug him too tight.
Prospect huggers.
Don't hug him too tight. Because for every guy that you, oh no, right? Maybe James Wood is going to be a superstar. But the Padres got the entirety of their time with Juan Soto, and Wood didn't make the major leagues. Is he going to make it this year? Probably. Will he be spectacular? Maybe. But who knows?
He might just end up back on the Padres roster after a DFA. I have no idea.
And if you had, if in 2022, if you had hugged your prospects too tight, if you had been too darling, right, you would have never had Juan Soto for 2 seasons. Sure, you'd have Mackenzie Gore, who right now is looking like a mid-rotation starter. And you'd have C.J. Abrams, who you have no position for. And you'd have James Wood, who wouldn't have even played yet. So we would have gone the last 2 seasons with whatever out there on the field. Instead, we've been going for it. We've been going for it. We've been trying to win. And that's all I want for 2024. I do not want to empty the farm. I do not want to wreck the rest of our decade, but I do not want to just punt this year into the stratosphere and go, don't worry. We kept all our prospects. We're set for 2025.
Anderson Espinoza was one of those guys.
Absolutely.
Luis Patino was one of those guys. He's already back on the team.
Yeah, can't miss.
Austin Hedges and Corey Spangenberg. And I mean, there was a lot of guys that were always the next greatest thing for Padres baseball.
Michael G in the chat. During that trade negotiation for Soto, oh God, we can't give up Bobby Hassel.
Right.
We can't give up Robert Hassel III.
Guy tore it up in Fort Wayne.
Just killing it. You know, as the last guy that they talked about like Robert Hassel? I got to tell you, I'm sorry, Jackson Merrill. They talked about Robert Hassel just the same way they talked about Jackson Merrill.
Exactly.
Line drive stick. He's got gap power. He can hit it line to line. He can, he's going to grow into his frame. He's going to become a 15, 20 home run hitter. He may never make the big leagues. Robert Hassel may never make the big leagues.
Nobody talked about Jackson Merrill until the second Hassel was gone. And then all of a sudden it was the exact same thing.
Holy cow, this Merrill kid we got, he is great.
He's awesome. That's literally around the time that everybody was talking about how great Jackson Merrill was.
Yeah.
Not to say he's not going to be great, but I've
great.
heard this story thousands of times.
And anytime you talk about this, I know we got to go to break, but anytime we talk about this, it's like people take it as an absolute. Oh, so you want to keep everyone, huh? Or, oh, you want to trade everyone, huh? No. We've overdone it on both sides in the past, but you can't just hug them all. You can't hug them all and expect to ever really be fighting for it unless you nail a class. If you get 6 amazing guys out of one class, then you can nail it. Otherwise, it's pretty darn difficult. All right, let's take a break. 1:22 is the time. Ask Us Anything is coming up around 1:35. That's where you get to ask us, anything. We could hear from Jackson Merrill when we come back. He thinks he could maybe be the starting center fielder for the Padres this year.
We'll see.
On Annie and Elsten right here on The Fan.
Hey guys, Annie here from Annie and Elsten. Well, listen, women's sports are on the rise. They're finally becoming more
Back in the NBA. Follow Inside the Green Room with Danny Green in the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. All right. All right, Danny Green, I see you.
Danny, inside the green room, a little clever play on the name.
Hitting corner threes for Odyssey. Appreciate you, 3&D Garden out there. Danny Green. Ask Us Anything is coming up in just a few minutes here on Annie and Elsten as we wrap up our Tuesday show and head in. Manny Machado just talked to the media at Padres spring training today, Annie.
He sure did. Are we playing that sound or should I
don't know.
paraphrase?
You could just tell us what he said because he says the same thing every time.
Well, I didn't get through the whole thing. I only got through half of it, but he's going to play smart. He's feeling good. His rehab's been going well, but he's going to be smart about when he returns. And he wouldn't really give a timeline on that, as he shouldn't. But he has been swinging 100%. His swing feels good. He's been swinging for a few months now, so that is a good sign. AJ Preller was asked about him earlier today, and AJ Preller said, and let me find this, he's hit every checkpoint so far this season. He's been here the last couple days. Preller said he hasn't had a chance to catch up with Manny yet, But he said he's put the time and the work in and spent a ton of time in San Diego this offseason with our training staff, but we'll continue step by step. He's trying to be ready for Korea. I know he wants to be ready to go play in Korea, is what AJ Preller said. And so far, he's tracking to be ready to play.
Bob Nightingale also said that Manny, in an interview, talked about Juan Soto. Manny said, we believe in the guys that we have here, but obviously no one can replace Soto. He's the top player in the game. He's irreplaceable.
Ooh.
That's Manny's direct quote. Do we think Manny is thrilled that Juan Soto's no longer a Padre?
The top player in the game.
He's the top player in the game. He's irreplaceable.
And he's not on your team.
What are you going to do?
Interesting.
What are you going to do?
Interesting.
That's an interesting comment.
Yeah.
Am I putting too much in that?
No, I
find that very interesting.
Again, always appreciate a player's honesty.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't be happy. Look, if
Yeah,
you're,
why would
if
you
you're
be
sitting
happy?
around and you're like, oh my God, here goes one of our best players, if not the best player on our offense, is definitely this past year, or right? I mean, you're not happy about it.
Juan Soto's a top 5 offensive player in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he's not a top 5 player in baseball because he brings one aspect to the game. He brings offense to the game. Prodigious offense. He will set, I guarantee you, he will set the major league record for walks. He will break Barry Bonds' record, which was previously Ricky Henderson's record for the most walks in major league history. He is going to break that record. He will break it before he's 35 years old. Like, he will.
And a lot of them won't even be intentional walks.
Right.
And Manny's in an interesting position now because he came in as really behind Eric Hosmer, but as the biggest signing for the Padres that they have seen in this organization in terms of just the money that's being spent and the hype and the popularity. And then he watched the ownership with Ron Fowler. Then he watched the ownership with Peter Seidler. Then he watched the finances go up, the finances come back down. And he, the whole time, was brought in as a centerpiece too. We are trying to win a World Series. We need you as our core player to build a team around you to try to win a World Series. So yeah, if you're Manny Machado, you're looking at Juan Soto and you're upset that he's gone. Sure, I get that.
However, Manny also worked very hard. This is not a knock. I'm just making, you got to lay out the history for what it is. He worked very hard at this time last year to ensure that he got paid and got a new contract extension. At this time last year, that was the topic in Padres training camp, was Manny Machado talking about the price of eggs, and Manny Machado talking about, it's time to get a new deal. It's time, other guys that got paid. It's time for me to get paid. And he got paid. He got an extra 5 years added to his contract. He got his opt-out years locked in. He got a raise from $30 to $35 million over the course of his new deal. I would be fascinated if Manny started to LeBron his way through spring training and talk about what we don't have and what we need and so on and so forth.
And I don't think he will. I think he's honestly answering a question, bummed to see his teammate go, but Manny's going to sit there and rally with the guys around him. He's going to look at the talent that is around him, the talent that he is part of, and he's going to hype those players up. And, we don't hear the full press conference. I'm sure that he already has spent time giving accolades to the players that are already on the team.
He doesn't have that LeBron James kind of mantra to him, because all he really cares about is playing. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's all he cares about. It's just playing the game. He has zero interest in doing anything involving media, anything involving being a face of a franchise, any of that. At least from what I've observed in the clubhouse, that dude is about playing baseball, and that's it. I mean, that's literally his entire life is just baseball, and all of his answers go to that way. And I can't imagine him really complaining about anything. I think he just wants to go out there and play ball.
Well, I hope he does, and I hope he plays great. The good news today, beyond words are words, are the clips you can find on the 97.3 The Fan Twitter page of Manny Machado throwing a baseball against a fence, a padded fence, and then throwing from third to first. He's doing it today in spring training and infield drills. He is throwing across the diamond. So the idea that he could be ready for March 20th, he could be.
And you definitely don't want to push it where he has to take time off early in the season because he went too fast, and he knows that. This is a Manny that is going to try to be smart about that. But I think you could see him maybe not playing third base in Korea, but in the lineup as a DH, I could see it happening possibly.
Absolutely. I don't think there's any question he'll DH.
Yeah.
The only
And
question
maybe
is,
at
will he play
third.
third?
Maybe
Yeah.
at third. Yeah. I mean, look, yesterday we were talking about how he wasn't throwing. He was sort of dropping the ball off to the side.
Right.
And today he's throwing. So we got to give it a little bit more time here and see what else he does. But it looks good in terms of his recovery.
All right, we're going to take our last break on the show. And when we come back, it's time to ask us anything. This is our daily call-in catch-all segment where you can dial us up and ask us anything. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. If you call in during the break, Braden will take your call, screen you, and get you lined up. All we ask of you when you dial in is that you ask us a question. Because, see, it's ask us anything, not tell us a bunch of stuff. It's ask us anything. So call us, ask a question, and we will be thrilled to have you on the air. We'll ask the YouTube chat to throw some questions our way as well. We'll have fun, and then Gwen and Chris will be in here before you know it. It's Annie and Elsten right here on 97.3 The Fan. Ask Us Anything is how we wrap up Annie and Elsten. It's 1:42, and we have to play a bumper.
Her name is Annie.
Yes,
His name is Craig.
Okay.
They're joined by Braden.
There he is.
But who are they really? Never hurts to ask. It's time to Ask Us Anything on Annie and Elsten.
Ask Us Anything, 833-288-0973. If you want to call in, all you got to do is dial up 833-288-0973 and ask us a question. There's 10 minutes in this segment. You can ask us a question. You have questions. We will have answers. And that will take place right here, 833-288-0973. However, we do have chat questions on YouTube that we can chew upon.
Can we?
Or munch upon, as the case may be.
Nate Taylor. Thanks, Nate.
What were you munching on going into break 2 breaks ago?
Well, Nate, there's some leftover Super Bowl party, like chips in the break room.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I grabbed a few.
Got some chips?
Just
Are you a sweet or savory person?
I'm sweets, 100%. But
I'm more savory.
Yeah.
Like if you had like your favorite salty thing next to your favorite sweet thing, you can only eat one, what would you do? I'd probably go with the salty thing every time.
Wow, that's tough. That is a time of day thing for me. And
Like
also, what are we drinking? Because if you're giving me a beer, I'm taking the salty thing every time. Who wants a beer and a cupcake? You know?
No, I don't like pairing. I don't really like pairing alcoholic beverages with desserts unless it's some type of coffee, right?
Yeah, can't do it. Can't do it.
Like if there was a plate of like cheeseburgers or like some type of like saltier fast food and a plate of like brownies or like cookies or like my favorite dessert, I'm going with the salty thing every time.
Pretty true, although my kryptonite is cookies.
It's like my mom's kryptonite. She can't not have cookies.
God, I love cookies.
My dad
What's
is
not to love?
obsessed. He's obsessed with cake.
With cake?
I'm not a cake person.
He loves all cake. Like any type of event he asks, is there cake? What is the cake? I mean, he is on it on the cake. But
I prefer pie.
I'm not a big pie person. I don't mind pie. I like making pies. Those are good. I Traeger pies. I smoke them. It's pretty good stuff.
What?
Yeah, like a Traeger, like a smoker's like it's basically an oven.
Yeah.
So you can make
Put a
like
pie in the oven?
So you put it in the Traeger, smoke it.
Damn.
It's good
I know
stuff.
talent there with Braden.
You smoke. I've made a couple homemade apple pies around the fall time from scratch. I make everything from scratch. I can't do
Braden,
this
where's
stuff.
our
And
where's
I
our pie? Our
throw it in the
smoked
Traeger.
pie.
Maybe some birthday pies? Can we get some
Right.
birthday pies?
Who puts a candle in a pie?
I mean, if you make it, I
Put
will.
do I need to show you Jim Gaffigan's thing on cake where he rips pie? That might
He
offend
makes
you.
it from scratch. That's pretty good.
I got to make my stuff from scratch. First of all, it's better for you, and second, I enjoy cooking. So, all about the grilling, all about the finding different ways to make great product. When
You
I
were
was
on a
in
roll there.
when I was in college, we smoked a pumpkin pie, a cinnamon whiskey pumpkin pie
That's
on a
fucking
Weber
delicious.
grill.
In a blunt?
And a Weber
When I was
grill.
in college, let me tell you what I smoked, all right? It wasn't that.
I don't do drugs, so nor did I ever do drugs in college. I was too busy smoking pies on a Weber grill
Yeah.
on Halloween. That was a good time.
Oh, my
Pumpkin
God.
whiskey pie sounds actually
Yeah, so
delicious.
instead of like putting cinnamon in your pie, you could put Fireball in your like
Oh.
pumpkin pie
Oh,
mix, and
no.
it takes over
Oh.
the cinnamon thing.
Yeah, it does. Oh, man.
It's very subtle. Like you wouldn't even think it tastes like Fireball. It literally just tastes like a regular pumpkin pie.
Braden was on a roll smoking pies right there. If you want to call back Thomas, 833-288-0973. Like you got like 2 minutes to call in and we'll take your calls. We'll absolutely take them. 833-288-0973. So apparently they had a talk on the morning show about, and this is kind of a funny question to ask us, to be honest, because this is our, fifth week of a new job? But Adam says, if your key cards were deactivated tomorrow due to being let go, what job would you go do? I mean, Adam, we just got this job. Our key cards are not going to be deactivated.
But thanks, Adam, for
Yeah,
that.
and I don't want to put that into the atmosphere because we're going to chase down another 2 YouTube coach stands and go, oh, I hope that happens tomorrow.
If you had to change your career, say you had to change your, let's say you wanted to change your, like, what would your next thing be? that you'd want to do?
You know, that's a good question, Braden, because
the job
I'm
thing
of
for
an
us would
age-
be like, go find another job that's like this, right?
Right.
I'd bet on myself. I'd go do my own thing.
Yeah, just keep the podcast going. Probably is what I
Right,
do.
but like, let's say
know.
you have to change your career. We're not going to say why. What would you go into? What is another interest of yours that you wouldn't mind going into work with?
Professional voice actor.
No, you stole it.
Yeah, but he's right. He's right.
Right. That's fine.
13 Oogie in the chat said it. I've told you my dream on the radio multiple times. That's what I would like to do. I would start to lean on my friends in Hollywood to try and get me an in to one of these animators at Netflix or somewhere.
I'd make coaching
That's a
my
good
career.
idea.
I'd flip into coaching
Okay.
at the
Shout out-
college level.
Adam Paul, we appreciate the question. I know we gave you some,
No, I know. Yeah. It's
but we appreciate the
we're
question.
just digging in here.
It's the song that Luke Combs sings.
So make me leave
doing
that.
this. What would you be doing if you weren't doing this?
Oh, I thought it was Fast Car that he sang.
He sings a lot of songs.
Oh, okay. Not just that one?
No, he covered that. That was good. He did a good job with that cover.
Yeah. I mean, sure, it was fine. Tracy Chapman did it better, but it was good.
All right. Wow. Luke Combs hater over here.
I'm just saying. I mean, he took
guy
a great
sucks.
song.
Guy sucks. His best song is somebody stole it
Somebody
from.
else's song.
He
That's
did a
exactly
cover.
right.
It was good.
It was a good
It's
cover.
fine.
It's fine.
I love that song before it was cool.
Same. I liked it before.
I liked it when I was in high school. Yeah. Yeah.
No, we're playing that game.
Probably. Gabe asks hang on, it's just scrolling past us. With AJ bringing up trades, is there any starting big leaguer today we can actually afford to give up? The only thing that could make sense is that we're upselling again to get. We're not going to trade any big leaguers off this roster, other than Ha-Sung Kim.
I was gonna say.
That'd be the only one, right? I mean, if you're going to trade anyone off this roster, it's Ha-Sung Kim.
Realistically, other teams are not taking these contracts that these big leaguers, some of them have. So Ha-Sung Kim is probably your most realistic way of going here to get something back in return that you want.
It would make all the sense in the world. Ooh, Eric Hernandez, what's your dream car? You know, I haven't dreamt on a car in a long time.
I'm not super into cars, but I mean, the one I drive right now, I like my Camaro. That'd probably be like my dream car. I guess I like the new Broncos. I think those are sweet.
I like
I'd
the
go
new
get a
Land
Bronco.
Rovers. I saw the new Land
Those
Rover.
are nice.
Yeah.
Raptors are sweet too. One of my former players just got a Raptor by transferring to Tennessee for football. They gave him a Raptor. It's
Wow.
so sick.
My next car is going to be an EV. There's no question. I promised myself that. My current car has like 94,000 miles on it. It's paid off. So there's that impetus to just keep driving because it's free. Other than
You
the
might as
gas.
well. You don't have a
Right.
car payment. It's
Yeah.
nice to not have
That's
a
how
car
I was
payment.
with my Toyota forever with the F-150.
Yeah.
Oh, that thing was going to go till it died.
That's why you get That's why you get Toyotas.
Mhm.
Last forever.
So we got 3 minutes. If you want to screen this dude, we'll pop him up, Braden. In the interim, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. The only thing I don't like about electric vehicles is their ability to silently kill you. Like you can't hear them coming.
I drive a hybrid and I find that I will spook people and you have to be very careful when people are walking around your car because you have to realize they do not hear you. They have no idea you're around them.
I'm not even kidding. Like there's been times walking the dog and you just hear that little like that little, I was like, whoa, holy crap.
And then all of a sudden, like someone's right next to you.
Right next to you. Yeah. And
Yeah.
if you don't have your lights on or anything, like this is a mess. He gone.
Okay.
Thought we had a guy. We didn't have a guy.
Well,
Don't have a guy, as they say in baseball. Don't got a guy. They don't have a guy.
Corey asks, will you both cover any MLS games?
yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
When it starts.
I will
yes.
cover all sports
Yes.
that are in town.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
The more sports in town, the better.
We have made it a point, Corey, to mix, not to force, not to overflood, but to mix professional soccer into this show. Our next professional soccer guest will be Thursday afternoon when we will be joined by the #1 draft pick of San Diego Wave FC, defender Kennedy Wesley out of Stanford University. So very much looking forward to that. And there's a new Chrome Ball tour for San Diego FC in Poway this Saturday. They've been doing the 18 tour stops. They're on to stop number 3 in Poway. Eventually, they're going to make it down our way. Annie, they're going to get out East County way.
They got to roll that chrome ball somewhere down toward East County. They got to kick that thing and let the truck that they have built specifically for that drive its way into East County. I just realized I called it a Toyota F-150. It's not. It's a Ford. It's a Ford F-150, guys. Woo! It's hour 4 of the show.
It's the second day of the week, Annie.
Second day of the week. And yeah, but
it's
you all knew what I meant.
It's not Thursday.
What would your superpowers be?
Freeze time.
That's a great one.
I'd want to
Pause
fly.
time. I don't need to fly. Because flying involves falling and crashing, and I don't need that power.
Flying brings so many questions, like
how fast can I fly?
Bugs in your eyes?
Do I have to wear like goggles?
Wind shear?
Right? How cold is it?
No, you are protected by all of this because you're like in your flying bubble, and you're protected.
How fast can I fly?
You can fly really super fast.
What is that?
Super
mean?
fast?
Yeah.
Define really super fast.
Like faster than the cars on the freeway. Like,
well,
you're
that's
like
not that
150
fast in
miles
the
an
grand
hour.
scheme of things. Am I faster than some of those jets the military pumps out? Then maybe.
Yeah, what if you get shot down or something? You know?
Well, that you just be like getting shot. I think it'd be the same thing.
You guys are just
Pause time.
Bubble bursters.
Freeze time.
That's a really great answer, Braden. I can't
Freeze
really argue
time.
with freezing time. That's
Gotta take your breath on a couple of freeze time.
That's
I like
nice.
Freeze time.
I mean, mind control's pretty good too.
Whoa.
I don't want to be manipulative. I
Whoa.
just want to freeze time.
Let's see what Gwen and Chris have to say. They're
Okay.
up next. This has been Andy and Elsten on The Fan. Talk to you tomorrow.